let's say that you're at a recording studio here in town.
I don't know where you're going with this thing.
And you spent the entire day doing the lines for the Ghostbusters video game. And so now you're on your way home and you're feeling...
did I tell you this one? Okay,
you're
it's
feeling pretty good
anyway.
Yeah.
So, all right.
I wish I... Get me some pills.
All right. I was just afraid. Okay, so I was doing this recording, and I was working on a movie at the same time, so I was going into Manhattan and working on the weekends doing all this recording. I got really back into the Ghostbusters thing, and it was fun being Dr. Peter Venkman, and I was laughing and I was improvising. It was just like being on the movie. It was like a lot of fun. And I go out on the street, and it's Manhattan on a Sunday morning around 9 o'clock, and I start singing the dang Ghostbusters song. And some couples walk on the street, and they look at me like, get over it, pal.
I'm here to rain!
That is my favorite.
Yeah, TalkRadar 91.
What was that?
That was Reverend Byrne bringing us in after the Apocalypse 3? Apocalypse PS3. PlayStation, all PlayStations went down, went dark, Y2K'd this week. What happened exactly? Was it really just a Y2K bug?
It was something with the internal clock.
The leap year. It thought it was February 29th.
But there was no February 29th.
And it was like trying to teach a computer in the 70s how to love, and it just exploded and reverted itself to 2000. And then you realize, oh, that's what PSN is all DRM, and all the games thought they shouldn't be out yet.
Yeah.
And wouldn't go on the network.
They couldn't sync with their trophies, and they're like, no trophies for you is no playing for me.
It was ridiculous, and we didn't even notice because Brett was at my house looking at the Sonic and Sega All-Star Racing. Like, you got to see these trophies. Words that I never thought would come out of my mouth. But all the trophies are references like fucking Game Gear games.
Yeah, the trophy and achievement names for the Sega Sonic All-Star Racing, they're all like Altered Beast.
Yeah.
Finishing this will take you ages. Golden Axe, ACTS, like all of them.
Triple Trouble.
Like,
Trouble.
They're all like really obscure Sega shoutouts. So it was really cool.
Everyone. Hi, TalkRadar 91. I'm Christopher Antista.
I am Brett Elston.
I'm Michael Raparez.
And our special guest,
Christian Nutt, Gama Sutra,
making his triumphant return so we can talk all about Final Fantasies. And we're going to talk about that and some Infinity Ward stuff, a lot of new releases to barely mention. I do want to play some crap from the Portal 2 question mark.
The new Valve, the new ending to Portal.
Were you affected by the PS3 blackout at all?
Well, I was going to play Heavy Rain on Sunday,
see,
and then I didn't because I found out about the blackout. So, yes.
Which it was only for the old PS3, so if you get a Slim.
That's true.
I'll let Reverend Byrne explain.
I have a $599.99 launch day 60-gigabyte PS3 in my house.
Reverend Byrne can break down exactly what happened.
So I turned on my PlayStation, and it gave me this fucked up error. It said, PlayStation Network is offline. You have been disconnected. 810.50F. Suck my man titties, bitch!
Thank you, Reverend Byrne. He had a theory that, yes, it was only the fat.
So I go online, and apparently this is happening to all the people that have old fat PS3s. They're trying to get rid of fat things. I'm going extinct.
We should say this guy is there's like a gelatinous blob with
a mouth.
With a mouth. It looks like he has a face made of flesh, but he looks like that trash heap the Fraggles would consult with. And he just yells into the camera.
Yeah, people sent that video around, and I saw the YouTube always uses the middle frame of the video.
Yeah.
And I just didn't click on it. I just didn't click on it.
Do we do one?
I eat cupcakes and play video games.
He really is the spokesperson for a generation. I do like the Reverend Byrne.
I eat cupcakes and play video games.
That's all I do.
But I haven't encountered this problem yet.
What should we play the last? I'll play one last.
Seriously, PlayStation, I'm gonna go get a fucking Xbox. Fix your fucking shit. I'm gonna kill puppies for every minute I can't play Call of Duty.
I got it.
Every person I would kill alive,
Yeah.
I don't think
I'm
you
gonna
do.
kill a fucking puppet. Seriously, PlayStation?
I like how he's like, "Hey, PlayStation,
Yeah.
you better fix this PlayStation."
Can I talk to you, PlayStation?
PlayStation Corp.
It does sound like your angry drunk dad yelling at the computer.
Yes. You kids playing Nintendo tapes down there?
How many men you got left?
You're playing some Nintendos, right?
You better be out of men's fucking Cardinal games on.
It's like I hear radio ads like that all the time. From Live 105 and Xbox.
That guy should do the intro
It's some bullshit.
for every monster truck show.
Yeah.
Well, he does have a face for radio.
Oh, Jesus. You see the one where he stuffs 8 uncooked hot dogs in his mouth. He's a glorious
What does
human
it have
being.
to do with PlayStation?
I don't know.
That
I don't know.
sounds delicious.
He apparently has a theme of like.
I'm
never
going to
wearing
eat 1 pack of raw ballpark prankster every minute I don't get to play PlayStation.
Which I
That
want
was really good.
I want to know the game he wanted to play and was unable to.
Oh, that was a thing. A lot of us were unable to play certain things.
You can play games without trophies.
We were
that's true.
we were working on. Tyler had a demo with an important upcoming game, and they brought in only the PS3 build, and it was a debug. And guess what? No demo. No demo.
Yeah,
It was
we had 2 demos in the building that couldn't happen because they were on Monday during the period where the PS3 fats were.
Where were
dying.
you during the apocalypse? Where were you when you first heard? I'm just kidding. We do not have to talk about this.
I was.
We were all
I
at
was
home
playing
at work.
God of War 3. I was most of the way through and had a shit ton of trophies that all got corrupted.
Did they all get corrupted?
All of them. Well, not all the trophies I've ever earned, but all the trophies from God of War 3.
Yeah.
The file got corrupted and I had to delete it, and I hadn't synced since I started playing. So
That is some
trophies
bullshit.
gone.
But another one, we were working on something with an upcoming game, which we'll have a review up.
We have the first review for Final
now.
Fantasy 13. At this point, by the time this podcast goes up, I think everyone's review will be up. But we will have had an exclusive for 24 hours.
Oh, sweet.
Reviewed by Carolyn Goodmanson.
Who has teased that she will drop by to say one thing and one thing only, the score.
She may stop by and say one word.
Yes, she has declined to be on the this dumbass show
Yep.
thousands and thousands of times. But we had a top 7 to relate. Is this Final Fantasy week?
It is. It's Final Fantasy Week Part 2 because Christian and I did one in 2007. And then when we were kind of looking for 13's coming out, it's the first new Final Fantasy. Actually, it's the first Final Fantasy that launched since Radar really mattered. Like, when 12 came out, it was 06, and Radar was still getting off the ground and trying to figure out what it was and what it was doing. So it had been 3 and almost 3.5 years. So we were like, I'll re-promote all that old content, but go back, and it's in that super old site format, so it looked really ugly and was outdated. And, well, it sadly wasn't outdated because there hadn't been any new games.
You whipped some O10 on it.
Yes.
010. No one's calling that.
Through, O10. I think that's Japanese for something, but
O10?
O10.
The wand of Oten.
But yeah, part of that was we chose Day 5 of Final Fantasy Week in 07 was the best Final Fantasy, so I'm like, well, how about I turn that into the top 7, which we do every week.
The top 7 what?
Best Final Fantasy game.
Yay! I said FF, but that meant Family Feud and not Final Fantasy. The top 7 Final Fantasy games, and I'm guessing you
My
guys.
favorite Family Feud host is
Al
Ray
Borland.
Combs.
Ray Combs. Is that the pedophile?
Pedophile?
Not a pedophile. I got it wrong. The guy who just used to feel up everybody and kiss all the ladies.
No, that's that was the other guy. The Ray Combs is the one who killed himself.
Oh, okay, that's right. Wait,
But also like the guy from Home Improvement.
he was really good.
You know who's on it now? Jay Peterman.
Who's that? Oh, from Seinfeld.
Seinfeld, whatever. Like, we watched it last week, and it was like, what? Do you guys just... What happened to Louis? Did Louis Anderson finally implode upon himself? Like, his own gravity caught up with him?
That was Louis Anderson exploding.
Right.
The top 7 Final Fantasy games.
Yeah, this was just ignoring spin-offs, side sequels, no Revenant Wings, no 10-2, no Tactics, no Mystic Quest, which more than one person mentioned as... Which I like. I'm sure I'm boring everyone except Christian and even them a little bit.
But I remember Mystic West.
Number 7 on the list.
Hold on.
Number 7.
Yeah.
Someday we'll get something else.
And one thing I really like about writing about a bunch of Final Fantasy games at once is that you can refer them all as numbers.
Yeah,
so that number
yeah.
7 is 12.
From here on out, every game we're talking about will be Final Fantasy.
Yes, I'm just going to say the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
12. And since I've barely played 12, and Christian wrote this entry 3 years ago, Can you tell me why this is on the list?
You said it so plaintively. Please.
I can say it more.
That's okay. I'll keep going. It's on the list because it's actually a really interesting game. I personally wasn't the biggest fan of it. A lot of people like it more than I do, but it's interesting.
It was a serious break from.
Yeah.
Everything.
Basically, what happened is they got Yasumi Matsuno, the guy who did Final Fantasy Tactics and Vagrant Story, to be the director of it. He decided to take the series in a very different direction, but not only that, but over the course of development, they had a lot of problems. He ended up leaving the company during development. There were rumors that he was forced out, rumors that he quit, rumors that he went crazy, rumors that he went to a Buddhist shrine and prayed for the game's successful development completion.
Usually works.
It worked.
Yeah.
It was finished.
It was finished. It came out, and it's a really interesting, different game. It's very, it takes a lot of cues from MMOs.
Yeah.
Big open environments, sort of an MMO style, like I hit you, you hit me battle system where you're sort of turn-based, but it's automatic.
It's like it feels like boxes hitting each other.
Really slow slap fight.
And yeah, really slow slap fight, and you actually can program the AI for your party members, including your main character, so they just sort of react on the fly to every situation.
Which they called the Gambit system.
The Gambit system.
And I point out that, like, in the image here, I point out, like, the Gambit system almost played itself.
It literally played itself. I mean, there were times when, like, if you didn't program certainly for bosses, sometimes it really paid to go more manual because they'd do things that really, screwed with you. But, I mean, by the end of that game, I basically turned my entire party into what I would call a Mage Knight chipper shredders. So they just wandered around the entire dungeon, just go like on everything, and just completely, like they'd walk up to enemies and go, and then it'd be it, and there was just really nothing.
If only they could find a way to have a robot hold down the D-pad for you, you wouldn't have even had to play the game.
Well, sometimes they would. My party, even though I had auto heal set up, sometimes they wouldn't interrupt themselves as efficiently. So sometimes I did have to run away a little bit to heal. That was about it.
Someone in the comments, Oven Man, pointed out, if you complain about 12's Gambit system, you're an unpleasable idiot. The other problems I'll accept, but Gambits are purely and entirely optional, and if your will is so weak that you can't stop yourself from using it, that's your problem, not the game's.
I would take issue with that argument, however passionately phrased.
Probably my best remembered memory of Final Fantasy XII is when I first got it, and I remember talking to you about it, Christian. And I was just kind of frustrated. It's like the battle. All I feel is like I'm just hitting X over and over again. I'm not really doing anything. And you're like, oh, you should be able to set it so you don't even have to do that.
Yeah. I mean, what it had going for it was the story isn't completely great, but it has a lot of really cool elements. A lot of really cool, interesting sort of, it's very adventuresome and it has cool characters.
It felt like
political stuff.
Yeah, it felt like a very political, and as far as Final Fantasy goes, a down-to-earth story.
It's like, actually what it is it's just Star Wars plus Gundam. It's like the politics from Gundam.
I see.
The, the adventuresome swashbuckliness of, the original Star Wars films. And
the politics of the new Star Wars films.
No, the politics of Gundam actually makes sense.
There's a reason for a blockade.
I forgot about it. Yeah, not the politics of the new Star Wars.
Cable this motion is.
The thing that I really like about it actually is it has really fantastic art direction by Yoshida, the guy who did Vagrant Story and Final Fantasy Tactics. He's the best art director at Square, I think. And he's working on Final Fantasy 14 now, but
right, sadly.
But it's 12 is, I mean, for a PS2 game, it's pretty gorgeous.
And then I remember you talked about how it changed considerably, and I remember seeing it at E304, and it was a regular turn-based Final Fantasy game with
it looks really weird,
random battles and all that kind of stuff. And then it wasn't at 05 at all.
No.
And then in 06, it just showed up again, and it looked like this. And it's like in that 2-year period, the game completely changed. And that never happens.
It was supposed to originally come out in, I think, 04. And so E3 were like, oh, we'll get to play it. It'll be out soon. Little did we know. And then things went south. I think there was a lot of, from what I understand, things I've sort of heard, there was a lot of internal debate at Square Enix about the creative direction of the game, and that led to the problems in the development. And some of the characters even being created, weren't originally supposed to be in the game, and they were added and sort of by management edict and stuff. But I don't know the full story. But yeah, it was a troubled project.
Okay. Now next on the
list.
Final Fantasies?
Top 7 Final Fantasy.
Top 7 Final Fantasies.
Number 6.
6 is 5.
Ooh.
Number 5.
That's going to get so confusing.
6 is Final Fantasy 5. Another one I didn't play, and actually, I haven't played much, and what I played I didn't like, only because the reasons that people do like it. And Hank the Tank, loves 5, and was like, I can't believe you're not putting 5 higher than that. The job system, blah blah blah. The job system is
A job system.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually a really, really, really good job system. It wasn't the first time they had a job system in Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
That was 3, like original, like NES, Famicom 3 that didn't come out here until the DS.
right.
But it was, I actually imported 5. It was the first Japanese game I ever imported because I was so crazy for Final Fantasy 4, i.e. 2 at the
Right,
time.
yeah.
And I couldn't wait, and it didn't look like it was getting announced. And in fact, it wasn't. I mean, it was announced, and then it was unannounced, and it was announced, and it was unannounced.
Yeah, it
and
was-
eventually never came
It
out.
was a weird time when the only news you could get was EGM and Game Pro,
Yeah.
and all that information would be 2 months late, and you're always like really far behind. And
And the guys, the working magazines didn't actually speak Japanese, so their
Oh, man.
write-ups would all be like based on conjecture and what they could gather from playing the games and stuff. But it's. I think it's got a lot of cool strengths. Obviously, the job system is really interesting if you get into it. It's really deep, especially
which the job system is a thing where you can assign
character classes.
character class to any character, and then they can retain those skills.
Right. If you master your job, say like, something basic like a warrior or whatever, you master the warrior job, and then the special skills can be, you can switch to another job like a ninja or something, and you can use the special warrior skills even as the ninja.
Yeah.
And by the end of the game, you should probably master like 3 or 4 jobs if you're playing it at like the normal pace.
Right.
And not going crazy. And all your different characters can have a totally different mix of skills, and actually there's some crazy, it's one of those ones you can get really crazy hardcore into.
Yeah.
Story-wise, it's one of the really weaker entries. It's mostly a slightly comical story, not really much depth to the characters. After
They-
Final Fantasy IV, it's
Yeah.
kinda
The thing,
low.
my problem was that it followed 4, which
Yeah.
is my favorite ever, and then 5, they have these characters that are kind of one note.
Yeah, very
And the
much.
hero's name is Butts.
That's what I have written down. What's...
I don't know. Is it officially Butts or Birds?
It's supposed to be Bart's.
Yeah,
I think
Bart's.
at this
No,
point.
Bart's was the American translation.
Yeah.
It was Butts, but apparently it's like some romantic Latin spelling that
Butsu.
doesn't translate very well.
BUTZ, I think, was the usual.
BUTZ. There's also a character called Guido.
Is it?
I was called that in Japan. And again, it was all based on some thing. Clearly I've been silent. I haven't played a
Right.
lot of these games.
And then the
So I don't
villain of 5 is a tree.
Is this true?
Named X Death.
A tree named X Death.
It's not not the best one for story, but
Yeah.
it has good gameplay. And I actually really enjoy the soundtrack. It's got some cool set pieces. The battle with Gilgamesh is one of the cooler
Yeah,
set pieces.
that's
in
a
the
very
game.
famous
You
character and song.
That song is awesome. That whole sequence is really cool. Like I think that, it's got its finer points in terms. I think all 3 of the ones on SNES are all good at different stuff, which is kind of a recurring theme for the series. Different games in the series being very different
Yeah.
and good at different things. And I think 5 has got its finer points.
Oh, I forgot to say this earlier. Don't want to lose anybody who doesn't, just because you don't like RPGs. Contest for some kick-ass shirts.
Oh, we got some
Go
shit.
check the TalkRadar 91 page. What's that, Elston? Dark Bunny tees. So they're like $40 value.
Yeah,
They're
nice.
$40 value, and that doesn't count shipping from the UK. They're completely original. What would you say? Like,
They're like shirts making references to classic movies.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's a Back to the Future shirt with DeLoreans on it, and it says "Great Scott Custom Autos,"
yeah, it's a little more subtle. Than,
but it doesn't say Back to the Future on
Nope.
it, which is
it says Emmett's Auto Shop or something like
Yeah.
that. I haven't seen it since I put it on.
yeah.
So
Contest for some
contest. Can we go to number 5?
Number 5
Number 5.
is number 9.
I don't have that, but if I add in number 2 and 7, we get 9.
And as 5, I have Final Fantasy 9, and it's one I really enjoyed. With that, as much as I loved 4, 9 was a throwback to the kind of
Yeah, all
old style.
my friends geeked out over this one.
Following,
I love this one.
following 7 and 8, which 7 we know is the huge one, which we'll bring up next, and then 8. 8 is not on this list because I hate it.
Hold on.
But I know I'm the only.
They're not the
I would
the
say
thing
I would say I'm in the minority, but yeah, a lot of people don't like
I
8.
actually, the funny thing about this series, or the thing that I find really interesting about this series, particularly in light of how people are sort of, the reaction to 13, which we're not really going to talk about quite yet, is like very polarized, right, on the net. And I think that's actually carries throughout the whole series,
Kinda,
right?
yeah.
There's like people that very love hate. Some people love, and the thing is, like, some people really love one game in the series, and then like you hate 8. I really liked 8. I didn't play 9 actually.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Really?
I seem to notice the people who really liked 8 don't seem to like 9 very much, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Well, with 9, I at the time I was living with Shane Bettenhausen, and he played it twice back to back. He played through the whole Japanese version and then the whole U.S. version.
Wow.
And he wouldn't stop fucking complaining about it. So just because I think he was tired of it, and I just got tired. I spent the whole summer hearing him talk about it with Andrew Vestal and one of our other friends who was playing Japanese version. I just by the time it came out, I was just so saturated with it that I just didn't want to hear about it anymore. So I didn't play it. But
it came out. It also came out at a weird time.
What's the good stuff?
It came out like a month after the PS2 launched. So I played. It was the first PS1 game I played on my PS2, and it was really weird that I had a new console sitting there with a whole new launch library, and fuck it, I want to play Final Fantasy.
It was kind of like Twilight Princess. Oh wait.
Yeah.
But do you remember hearing like, oh, the PS2 can make Final Fantasy 9 look better?
Yeah,
it has the polygon smoothing.
It has these filters, and it'll look better. But the thing I liked about 9 was because it was a throwback. I felt 7 was... I liked 7, but I felt 8 got too complicated. The junctioning system and the really overwrought summons, and I don't know, just had a lot of, and the almost too serious characters, took itself very seriously.
Yeah.
And no joking. But it still had jokes and humor and stuff. But 8 to me was serious business, and 9 was what if we have a protagonist that likes being the protagonist? He likes giving orders. He likes having adventure, and a free spirit, and he's not weighed down with my life and emotions. And I found out
my father think?
even when he finds out Zidane, even when he finds out he's actually a doppelganger of the main villain and is supposed to be an evil being bent on and he's like, no, I
don't accept that.
I do not accept that. It's not who I am. And you have this really fun, contrasted with characters like Vivi, who's this adorable black mage, probably gone on to be the most famous character from the game. He's the troubled, weird one with this weird backstory, yet he's the cutest looking one. And then Steiner is everyone. He's an obviously just wholesome knight who has to protect the queen, and everyone has their set roles in the party. Like Zidane is this fighter thief, and Steiner is a warrior. Princess Garnet and Iko, however you pronounce her name, they're the summoners, and everyone has a role. No one switches classes, no one does anything. 4 people in your party. It was really fun. Great soundtrack, and it's one of the more moodier soundtracks, and Uematsu, the composer of most everything that says Final Fantasy, has said on his own terms that he thinks 9 is one of his strongest works, and I really back that up. I think it's one of the most varied and emotionally rich soundtracks of not just Final Fantasy, but maybe any game, not of all time, but certainly very high. And it all comes together as a great send-off to a kind of game I know we'll never get again. They'll never go back and do fantasy for fantasy's sake Final Fantasy. It'll always be this mix of science fiction and lasers and space, and it'll always, they're never going to do this again. I don't think. The closest we'll get is 14.
It wasn't very successful, was it?
It still sold 5 million copies.
Oh, okay.
They were all successful.
Yeah.
I thought I read in the article this is the least successful.
It's of the 3 PlayStation ones, it sold the least, but has the highest Metacritic rating. But I mean, even when it sells the least, it still sold 5 million.
What's the deal? I know they're reluctant to say whether they'd remake these, but they seem to have no problem updating something like 4. You're making this sound very interesting.
Well, I mean, to leap from a PlayStation 1, up to another generation's worth of remake, that's a lot more remake than to leap from SNES up to DS. You know what I mean? To get that comparable.
This is true.
Level of.
But I want it.
Yeah, no, I think.
Well, they've put 7 and 8 on PSN, haven't they?
Yeah,
but
they'll put 9 on PSN.
I was hoping they would. I mean, I think 9 is great, but it is, if you don't. You really do need to already kind of like it, or be in the mood for an adventure that is going to get serious, but it's not beating you over the head. It's very lighthearted a lot of times.
Okay.
Even though I feel it has a stronger love story than 8, which is supposed to be built around this idea of a love story.
Let's move on to the one I played.
Let's do that.
Number 4.
10.
10.
Oh.
It's my first one I ever played.
Which
Really?
10?
First one I never finished.
Really?
Yep.
I love 10.
10 is for me second favorite.
Yep,
it has a
I'm
ton of homages to the old ones without being caught up in them, which is 9's biggest fault.
I thought that I always remember as a kid. I thought my friends were all playing this, and I always thought the turn-based stuff was boring. It wasn't as action-oriented, and something about this I just found thoroughly appealing.
Well, 10 shook up the active time battle by actually having this meter
Yeah.
that showed when the next action was going to execute. a little bit of Grandia in there if you know your RPG.
It definitely led a certain level of. It was the most strategic battle system
Yeah.
in the series of that date, and it really. You really could think ahead, and there's some really complicated, really engrossing boss battles towards the end of the game where they when you started to really understand the gameplay and you had your characters raised up, they really threw complicated situations at you.
And the leap from 9 to 10 is like at the time was just like this unbelievable. Like 9 had cutscenes and they were gorgeous CG renders, but there was still
ridiculous cutscenes.
There was still no voice dialogue. There was still. It felt very much like contained in this kind of hardware. It couldn't be anything bigger. But 10. Despite only coming out 1 year later, still looks good to this day. Because I just played it yesterday and ran around gathering screens and assets for some of the features this week, and I was like, this...
It was the exact setting
play
I
this
wanted
today.
to go to. I don't know, it's like semi-tropical.
Yeah. It's a fun world, and then it has this great plot twist with what the villain actually is, and it's this enigmatic, weird, giant monster thing, and then it turns out to be sort of your father thing. And
I think we can spoil everything up to...
Is Jekt his name?
Jekt, yeah.
Yeah.
And the story, it's one of the... A lot of people rail on Titus, the hero.
It's easy to do.
He's a whiny, beachy.
But he's not.
athlete.
He's not a bad character by any means.
No, yeah, it's his character arc that by the time he's done, he is one of the most believable. It's not.
He was a spoiled kind of guy.
Yeah, and he grows, and then when he learns out what he really is, and that he's actually like an imaginary person and is not real, and blah blah blah, he accepts it and not in a kind of like, well, okay, there's like a real torment there that he's fallen in love with Yuna, and now and then like the whole world like. There's a huge amount of spoilers to it, and they're not trite things they throw in at the last minute. It's a really cool... Combine that with the voices, with these, in detailed faces.
It was the first game that had voices.
Yeah, the first Final Fantasy with voices, and it came out right when the PS2 was getting off its feet, so it was just...
I didn't buy one until this game came out, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I played it before that, but I was kind of broke at the time, so Final Fantasy X was like what pushed me over the edge. It was... at that time, it was like that PS2 generation. We played about a year of stuff, but it really hadn't.
Yeah.
The PS2 was slow to get off the ground.
The first year was weak.
SSX.
Yeah, SSX was yeah.
I played Ring of Red and Tekken Tag
Do you like
Tournament.
2 Dynasty Warriors? Got 2.
Kessen, anyone?
I forget what I wrote recently about why I was so pissed about Final Fantasy 14. Like, how can that drop? I don't have any interest in playing that.
14?
14.
Because it's MMO?
Yeah, because it's an MMO. But, they announced 13 4 or 5 years ago, and they announced 14, and here you go, 9 months, done.
Yeah.
Well, actually, there's people been rumors that the 14 team has been irritated with 13 taking so long to get done because they were on track, and they don't get as much of a marketing cycle and everything.
They go to beta next week. There's open beta next week, or I don't know, apply, go to the website. I don't give a shit. I'm not playing it, but I played 10, and it was sort of mind-blowing, and I was like, I can't wait to play more of this. 11.
Yeah.
12. Took a lot of MMO cues.
Yeah, I know, it's hilarious. It's like 13, for me, in a weird way, is the first Final Fantasy game since 10.
That's how I felt in that article.
Very
it's
real
been 10
way.
years, and I've been wanting to play more. I went immediately after finishing 10. I jumped into 7. And it was too archaic to really get into. All this text with noise as it moves. I'm beyond this. It hurts to read. It just hurts to hear. It doesn't hurt to read. Let me read something or play something. And I can't wait for the next one. And it took a decade.
Yeah,
a decade.
Because it came out in 01, so it's.
That's why when I said what's your most anticipated game of the year, I'm like, it's Final Fantasy 13. I've been dying to play another 10 since 10. And
one of the big things getting railed against 13 is there's no overworld or towns, and it's all a tube, and it's all this, and there's an argument about what an RPG should be, and it's do you guys remember when 10 did a lot of this stuff already? They got rid of the idea of an overworld, and the towns are barely towns, and
yeah, I mean they're a couple screens. Actually, what's funny is that in 10, some of the towns actually, some of the inside of the houses were actually 2D renders, flat renders, on 7.
Yeah.
They just were eh.
We should say Christian has played 13.
I played it for 10.5 hours, Japanese version.
The Japanese version. And you liked, loved, hated?
Liked and very intrigued by it. I liked it a lot. I didn't think that I'm turning 33 this year. I didn't think that I could be that much of a fucking fanboy for something. You know what I mean? I thought I'd grown out of that, like where I was in that like total like, shut up, you're hurting my feelings because you don't like what I like, kind of like, you know, complete mentalist.
That's why I like the article you wrote about it, because it was a little more level-headed, and you took an approach to someone who's angered by the thing, not angered, but you can tell what's different.
Yeah.
And how you feel about it.
Well, you know, it's I mean, I definitely, you know, I am mature enough to not just like dwell in that little spot, but I definitely did a little bit of like, nah, when 13 came out, and I was a little bit. It was
the thing, because you acknowledge what wasn't there compared to what the series has been known for, but why, if it's just going to be gameplay sequence with the reward of a long cutscene, then this is that's what 13 is.
It's interesting because the cutscenes are. What's really good about 13? I mean, we're sort of really debating from the topic, I guess, but 13 doesn't have really long cutscenes. It doesn't. It has a lot of short cutscenes that are paced really evenly, so you don't have to sit there for you know half an hour anymore. It's really more like you'll play for like an hour and you'll probably see half an hour of story, but it's like every 10 minutes or something. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's actually. I think there's some clever stuff, and I think that I mean they're definitely very carefully thinking about what they can do to interest people who are bored by the idea of Final Fantasy.
Because people said there's no towns, but I really didn't see that many people like, that's bullshit. You understand why there's no towns. Yeah. There doesn't need to be towns anymore.
I mean, if you can, all those, you know, towns, I mean, from a perspective of gameplay, and you know, they only really offer, you know, a place to re-equip and rest and stuff, and you can get all that, they just moves out all the save points. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The save points are like an access point to a bunch of different stores.
I didn't like what they said. Maybe something was lost in translation. It's like, we thought about towns, but it looked like it would be too hard to render in HD. Those towns. I'm like, you had 5 years.
I don't think that's a good answer.
Nope.
But I think to, you know, make a really compelling large city, like something on the scale of like Midgar or something. You know, for Final Fantasy VII, that would have been a colossal undertaking. That might have actually been, you know, and if they want to do something at the quality level of like, you know, if you look at the quality of Final Fantasy, that they set the visual bar very high. If they wanted to do a really complicated town, it would end up being like, you know, the whole game would be like, it'd be like Assassin's Creed 2, you know, or something like where it's all set in a town.
What did you think of the setting in 13?
We'll
just get this out of the way now. 13.
It's gorgeous. I mean, it's the actual, you know, in terms of setting, the world doesn't feel cohesive because you don't have, at least as far as I got, because you don't have like a world map and you don't have, you know, I mean, the towns in a world map would help the world feel more like a world, right? But it's definitely, I mean, it's gorgeous. And what's really interesting, I think more about the world of Final Fantasy is more like the society in a Final Fantasy game. And there's definitely some interesting stuff going on in terms of, you know, there's two realms, Pulse and Cocoon. Cocoon's floating in the air. Pulse is like the main planet on the ground, and then people get exiled out of Cocoon, and I don't really fully understand it, partially because it's in Japanese, partially because it's, you know, Final Fantasy stories really have to build for a long time, so I was still in the preliminary, even at 10 hours was in the, like, still, we're building the story here.
I think Carolyn beat it, and it was in the 40s or 50s.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think to beat the game, it's probably about 40, but if you want to do all the optional content as usual, it's going to take you forever, so...
10, over 80 for 10. So
I was at about 70 for 10. Number 3 on the list, the best Final Fantasy games, is 7.
Number 7.
You do have a 7.
I do. I just didn't finish playing it.
All right, fine. All right, no. Is 7 because, and I mentioned in the intro text for 7.
Number 7.
Number 3.
Final Fantasy.
Shit. Is number 7 number 3, or is number 3 number 7?
Number 3 is
Wait,
number
what if
7.
it's both? No, it isn't.
So we're talking about Final Fantasy 7 now.
Yeah, we're talking about Final Fantasy 7, which...
I never played that game.
Yeah.
Lol.
It's like, what, 9 or 10 million copies? I don't know off the top of my head, but, like, obviously was millions of people's first RPG.
Yeah.
The most, I would say, the most popular of all time?
I would say, I mean, let's face it, the game is... the landmark, benchmark, most popular RPG in everybody's mind, whether or not it's literally true or something. You know what I mean? It basically, you know, it's the game that, if there's a Final Fantasy game that, you know, maybe not youngest, the people are super young right now, but like, if there's a Final Fantasy game, everybody's played is Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, would be my guess as well.
One of the best stories ever, before we get into it, is, you know, Shane Bettenhausen used to work at an EB, back when they had EB, you know, previously GameStop's.
A boutique.
in the mall in Kentucky, which is where he's from, and some guy came in to return Final Fantasy VII. And Shane, being Shane, was like, "Why are you returning this game? It's really good. Like, what's wrong with you? Why are you returning this game?" And the guy's like, "I'm illiterate."
Oh, that'll do it.
And Shane's like, "Okay."
Fair enough. Well, here's Contra.
Started speaking slower. Here he goes.
I'm sorry.
I'm
Did
sorry.
he hold up a $1 bill and say, "Here's $50"?
I will give you a complimentary power pad. Please don't eat it.
The thing was,
We're making fun of people who don't know how to read.
Learn to read.
they can't find the podcast.
You can
that's true.
voice your opinion in the Games Radar forums. 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 All right.
Can he write? Can you be able to read but not write? Could you write a sentence down and be like, "I don't know what I wrote"? Whoa!
I think that's like
Man.
psychological disorder. That's
Whoa!
It's like interpreting a dream.
I think that's only on a lot of acid.
Yeah, man.
We should do a cast all on acid. Next time the next Final Fantasy comes out, we will do an all acid.
So like
podcast.
2014. Let's do this.
Yeah.
When Versus comes out, like, why not?
God, is
Seven.
that still
Were we talking
happening?
about 7 before Crisis, Advent Children, Dirge of Cerberus, or Crisis?
We're talking about just 7.
Just 7.
just 7?
Just 7. Plain old 7.
These all sound really good. I don't like. I like my Final Fantasies with a colon in it.
Yeah. Well, I think if you're going to play any of the spin-offs, I'm guessing Crisis Core is the preferred.
Oh, Crisis Core is great.
Yeah.
Is
in my
it?
opinion.
It's a prequel.
Yeah, I reckon if you like 7, you should. Oh, wait, you don't like 7.
I just don't know. I've
Shit.
seen Advent Children twice. I haven't.
Yeah,
played
the problem with 7
Really?
in today's the problem with 7 in this day and age is that it looks like complete ass.
Yeah.
It looks like a joke,
It looks like it was.
which is only a problem
it looks
because
like
it's
Vector Man with spiky hats.
yeah. Because
it could be done on the DS, and there would be
Yeah.
room left over for improvement.
No, absolutely. The Final Fantasy IV remake looks better than Final Fantasy VII. The detail in the character. Granted, the game is not as big,
Right.
and there's no cutscenes of great length of CG quality. But I mean, the guts.
Well, the funny thing about 7 is it's very clear if you look at it in retrospect, you play it now, it's like they were really forging ahead. They were really pressing ahead technologically, and they actually didn't have everything sorted out. It's just a really inconsistent. Like there's like 3 different sets of character models in different cutscenes.
Oh,
There's like no
yeah.
reason for that. They're all CG.
Yeah.
There's like some of the cutscenes have like the Popeye guys.
Yeah.
Some of them have like the mid-range guys, and then the ending has these like amazingly good looking
these
ones. for the time.
full-bodied, fully properly proportioned. It's
Yeah.
like, what the fuck, guys?
Yeah, no, it's a crazy mishmash, and it has the most mini games and like weird random shit of
Yeah.
any game in the
Yeah, the
series.
a snowboarding level that's
Yeah.
you can get
There's
in
a
your
strategy.
phone now.
There's
The
a strategy.
the submarine game with the golden saucer.
I was trying to find the
But
the
there's a-
snowboarding music was hilarious.
Yeah. But the thing with 7 is because it was everybody's first, it has gained this. I called it godlike adoration / revulsion.
More adoration than revulsion. I think a lot of people are liking it.
I mean, there's more people that like it, but then there's the people who are tired of hearing of it or like.
That's me.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people it's sort of like I'm religious because my parents are and they went to church twice. And
Right.
I haven't done this in years, but I don't know life without it.
Right.
right.
And I understand that completely, but I mean, even as someone I would not consider myself in the slightest a 7 fanboy or anything, I still think it was an amazing game and
Yeah.
has what I think is the best villain of all the Final Fantasy games.
Sephiroth is definitely the coolest villain they ever did.
Yeah, it's a villain that he looks cool, he does cool things, he's ruthless, he has a reason, and he basically does succeed in a lot of his goals. Like you
Yeah.
feel like you stopped him at the last possible second before it got even worse, but it already got very
But
bad.
he never dies. He's in everything.
Well, as far as the game's canon, he does die. When you kill him and he shatters into polygons
In the game.
in the game.
So I'm not
Comes
going to
back
count
in the
that.
sequel, though.
He doesn't. I mean, he doesn't. He's not alive in Advent Children.
Yeah, it's
What about Kingdom Hearts? He was pretty tough.
Kingdom Hearts doesn't.
He's-
I don't think Kingdom Hearts is canonical to the story
It
of Final Fantasy.
actually is. I emailed people at Square. I don't know anybody at Square. Hey, no, Christian.
President Disney told
No?
me.
Yeah. Yes, he teamed up with a fucking duck.
Oh, I just texted Tetsuya Nomura and he said you're stupid.
Oh man, he did it without moving his
Dude,
hand.
and it's like 5 a.m. there, so he was waiting.
Well, I told him I was going to be on this podcast. He was like, "Shit, I got
So if
your
anybody
back."
says anything about Kingdom Hearts. And then the final point on 7 I wanted to make is the fact that and this has nothing to do with the inherent worth of the game, the gameplay, even though it pioneered those Hollywood-style cutscenes, these amazing, elaborate summons, the materia system that lets you do all these crazy magic combos that were kind of like the Espers from 6, but with a little bit more customization.
It was very cool because it was like, it allowed people who were really into gameplay to really go wild, but it didn't stop people who weren't so hardcore in from enjoying the game.
Whereas 8 was like, no, you have to get into this. And I'm like, Jesus. But the thing with 7 was like, this game, strangely enough, changed the face of what we do now. Like, if the plan up to that point, Final Fantasy was a Nintendo property. It was still Square, but it was always Nintendo.
Right. And they even showed that demo. They showed a demo of what we thought Final Fantasy 7 was going to be using Final Fantasy 6 characters.
Yeah, and it was going to be Nintendo 64. Of course it was. Why wouldn't it be? And then they're like, no, it's going to be on this new Sony's PlayStation, and it's going to be on CDs, which was what? And it was
3 CDs. In fact.
3 CDs, and it was equivalent to like that stupid fucking fan revolt of Devil May Cry showing up on 360, where you're like, imagine if a series had been exclusive for its existence and now was exclusive.
People freaked out, and it was like, it totally changed the face of what people were thinking, changed the face of that console generation, it changed the face of how people thought about what games could do and be.
And the fact
in terms that I knew what happened to Final Fantasy, I knew that like, well, there. 4 is 2, and all of a sudden, like, what the hell happened? Like, seriously, some of my friends were like, what the hell happened to 4 of these games? Where did they go?
It went from 3 to 7.
I can't just jump into the 7th entry, and like, I thought it was kind of bold of them just to say.
Well, I think it was very good of them too. I mean, ultimately, I think it was intelligent and necessary to actually correct the numbering.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they really need. It was
going
to be a
huge
huge problem.
Confusing as fuck.
You still confuse people when you're like Final Fantasy 3, and they're like, which one?
Which one?
But it's like
at this point, I'm like, when I say 4, I mean 4.
When I say 3, I mean
Japanese 3.
I mean DS, Japanese, Famicom 3, yes.
But it's like, if Square had stuck with Nintendo and put 7 on N64 in whatever form that might have taken, there's a chance PlayStation would not have caught on like it did, would not have just been the runaway number 1, which would not have made the PS2 the runaway number 2. It's extremely possible, because that's just, like, up to that point, PlayStation was like, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah,
but I think they were doing really well.
They were doing pretty good.
They were doing
Nintendo had Mario 64 beating the shit out of everything Sony had at the time. It was outselling. The N64 was flying off the shelves.
Yeah, N64 was really popular at first.
The thing is, Nintendo 64 started to slide right when 7 came out. Everyone had a year even though 64 had GoldenEye, had Ocarina.
I take it back.
Had all that
the
stuff.
Interesting thing, I mean, like, the PlayStation had Tomb Raider and it had Resident Evil, but, like, Final Fantasy 7 just sort of changed what people thought.
And it mattered in Japan, which was the biggest thing. And
I think it was really smart, because I was recently reading your interview. One Up has a interview with Yoshinori Kitase, who's the producer of 13. He was also the producer of 7 and 10. And Jeremy Parish took him sort of back through, like, tell me some things about the history of the series.
Right.
And they're like, well, we were thinking about what to do with Final Fantasy 7, and we realized that we really wanted to push forward with this Hollywood style. And it's like, if they hadn't sat there, you think about, like, imagine the excitement of these guys sitting there. They're trying to debate whether or not to make this, cute N64 game, because the N64 game, like, the demo they showed wasn't really a game, but it was going to be, like, in the same sort of style, cute little characters and stuff.
Or what am I thinking of? Like, all the RPGs that came out on the Saturn that were just kind of updated sprites.
Big heads, little feet.
Yeah, it would have been, but like, it's like, I could just imagine the excitement of, like, they're like, let's go for it. Let's actually fucking do this. And I remember when, when I got the 7 demo, it came with Tobal number 1, which is a fighting game.
That's what it was.
Tobal number 1 was a fighting game they put out, and I got the 7 demo, and I put it in, and I was just, even though I, like, had been playing Saturn and PlayStation, at this point I've been playing PlayStation for a couple years, because it was 1997. The demo came out, like, the end of 6 in Japan, 1996. So, like, it was still, like, a long time, and I was like, man, I just do not, like, it just was, like, a surprise to me, and I liked it, which was a bigger surprise to me, because I remember being really skeptical about this direction for the series at the time, because of my personal taste being, like, sprites, and, like the remake of Lunar for Saturn that originally came out on PlayStation 1, like, that, I was excited about that, and, like, this, like, I was like,
we'll have more Lunar later.
Yeah, what is this going to be? This is crazy weird, but it really...
Wow.
Number 2.
No.
Number 2.
2 is 4.
I don't want to do. I don't even want to do. Oh wait, that's what I can do. Why is Final Fantasy 4 number?
Well, as
Number 2.
Cecil.
trying to construct a sentence.
Cecil, which I know now is pronounced Cecil, and I will never call him that.
Yeah, me either.
Fuck that noise. Him screaming "Y" there, which is a sound effect we've had since 08.
Mm-hmm.
So do you like just say the word Cecil every time they say Cecil in the game?
I just ignore. I just hear it as Cecil.
Like blah blah blah, and they say Cecil, and you just say Cecil over
out loud
while you're playing by yourself.
Yeah.
Where's your sea monster,
on
Cecil?
the bus.
Nobody in the world listening to this will get a Cecil the Sea Monster reference. Let's move on.
Beanie and Cecil.
Benny and Cecil. There you go.
Beanie and Cecil. I
There
know
you
what
go.
you're talking about.
All right. Comedy.
But four is 2 on this list.
It blew my little mind.
Yeah. Kind of the same. What?
It blew my little mind.
Yeah. Like, I remember renting it as like 92 by the time I rented it, but it came out in 91, like practically Super
It was
Nintendo
like
launch.
November 91. Yeah.
And like just seeing this, like I didn't know a game could be that big and have all these different environments and have all these characters with dialogue and story and a point to it all, and not just running left to right.
Well, it was called Final Fantasy II when it came out, and we had played Final Fantasy I the year before.
Right.
1990 was Final Fantasy I, which was actually Final Fantasy I.
Yeah.
Then suddenly 1991
1 year later
was Final Fantasy II, which was Final Fantasy IV. So we got the evolution, like 3 games worth of evolution in 1
game.
year.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, I played Phantasy Star 2 at that point already, and Phantasy Star 1. I'd played some other RPGs, but it just blew my fucking mind. I did not know a game could be so dramatic and engaging and grossing.
It
long.
did
It was
everything.
like one of the first console games to really start to introduce mature themes, more or less.
And it is
It's like the
kind of
heavy rain of its day.
Yeah.
and it is admittedly ham-fisted sometimes. And,
Well, it's melodramatic.
and
is
it's
what it
way melodramatic, but it's like at a time when no one else was being any kind of dramatic,
is. Yeah.
I will take the melodrama.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
I was also 14, so you were even younger.
I was 12, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like,
Or 11 or something.
at the time, it was like, when you're comparing this to, I don't know, like
Sonic 3.
exactly. It was your
That was
kid.
our sole frame of reference.
When you're relatively a young kid and you're not used to getting this stuff out of video games, of course.
Yeah.
And I still think it's a really effective story. It is
I
melodramatic,
really do.
but it's the story's great.
And
It
I
really well
think
put
I think
together.
Cecil's I think he's the best hero
Yeah.
in the series. You could debate that. I'd be open to it, but I mean,
He goes through a really, like,
he's one of the most
He went-
tortured,
he was like
honestly conflicted people.
he's one of the first video game characters to actually go through a character arc that I can think of. You know what I mean? Even
Yeah.
even the characters in previous RPGs that had fairly deep stories, the characters didn't really change. They were
Right.
really part of the story. And I think what really Final Fantasy IV is, and I would say Final Fantasy IV is the sort of the first game that sort of set the path
Yes.
of what Final Fantasy was going to eventually become.
Yeah, and not just Final Fantasy, but like JRPGs in general.
Yeah.
Like there's still traits, like the melodramatic everything. There's still like just archetypes that go back to 4.
Yeah.
Like to this day, they're making games that like, hey, it's that PS2. What did NIS publish this week? Hey, it's Final Fantasy IV ripoff.
That is true. NIS is particularly stuck.
And
in,
hey,
stuck in
I
this
like
area.
Artanelico just fine.
Yeah,
but,
no,
I
I'm
mean,
not saying
it's-
there's anything-
but it is like
Doesn't make you a bad person, else.
you didn't kind of grow this genre, but it's like 4 did in a way what 7 did a few years later. But 4 like it introduced active time battles, so now the battles aren't this boring rote push X to win or
Yeah.
push B to win, whatever. The characters have dialogue and personalities, and people die and come back, and then the villain
Yeah,
has
plot
a
twists.
plot twist. The villain has a reason for doing the things he's doing, and then there's a final battle with this amazing soundtrack. Oh, god damn it!
All
That
right.
game, that game was the game.
Number
It's my
one-
favorite game in the series.
It is mine as well.
It is time for the number
Mine
one.
is the next one.
Excuse me, Michael. What?
I just said mine is the next one. My
All
favorite
right,
game.
you can have that. Then we can do
Was that the current affair sound effect?
this. No, that's the Michael Raparez sound effect.
Whenever he
It's the Wikiparas.
The
sound
Wiki
effect.
Pares.
when he corrects
When he
someone, he
corrects
gets the
us.
current affair noise.
Oh, that's.
Or when I say anything that Chris feels like playing that for.
well, it's usually eloquent and correcting me. So I.
my favorite.
All right. Hold on. Number one is
Final Fantasy VI.
Number 6.
Oh, all right, I'm already tired of this. Number 6. A couple of my friends, I just should say, while you're both sitting here, a couple of my friends out of the blue just messaged me to say that was a fantastic choice.
Yeah, I was.
Didn't even know they read our website.
Final Fantasy VI is the game that I feel like if 7 is the game I feel most strongly about, 6 is like trailing it by a nose hair in
Really?
terms of the way that like the fan reaction to 6. People are crazy. I think that they could probably whip up almost as much hype for like a remake of 6.
Oh my god!
I mean, it probably wouldn't be as broadly popular. Maybe it would be once the hype got started. But the hype for a remake of 6 would be like as extreme, like a real remake. I don't mean a DS remake.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
really?
Like a, you know, I mean.
I think even a DS remake would get
I'd
a
like
lot
to see,
of.
well, if I want to see a real remake of that game.
Yeah,
the DS
but
has no
I have a
purpose.
feeling that people would start to play it and it's like, oh, right. Like, well, this is pretty.
Yeah.
I love that.
Unless they like did a full remake, like
Oh yeah, no, they
updated
have
the
to.
gameplay.
No, they have
or-
to. No,
yeah.
but anyway, Final Fantasy 6. Let's talk about it.
It is the 6th version of the final.
Well,
I don't know.
Following 4, which we got is 2, so this was 3.
Yes.
And, but in
Yeah,
reality,
we skipped 5 in America,
yeah,
so
we
we
skipped
had
5.
in 1991 we got Final Fantasy quote unquote 2, which was Final Fantasy 4. We waited for a long time for Final Fantasy 5 to come out in America. It never did. We got Mystic Quest, which was like what? And then we got Final Fantasy quote unquote 3 in 1994.
I think like what was actually the subtitle on this.
with one of the most bizarre commercials, which I'll play in the break.
Yeah, it is a weird. It's
The
it's,
Italian Mog. Next.
Yeah, it's
What
a,
are you
it's a
doing?
Moogle.
eh?
It's
Final
a,
Fantasy.
It's a Moogle having. That's the Duke.
they had no
and it
idea
is-
what they were doing.
It's a Moogle like having a casting call for monsters to be in the game.
I used to get the Ogopogo Times. which
Oh
was
my
the-
God,
was
Ogo-
the newsletter, official newsletter of Squaresoft.
lives, will you?
The official Squaresoft newsletter.
Wow.
They had no clue at the time.
But what the thing with 6 is like, no one character to me stands out as
Yeah.
a like, what a great hero, what a great heroine. It's like, it's an ensemble cast, and
Yeah.
it really does feel like everyone is interdependent on each other. And by the time the game is over, you have this great sense that these people really did come together in a completely destroyed world, because the villain Kefka succeeds in destroying the world about halfway through the game, and the only instance of that ever happening in Final Fantasy.
The
for
world
sure.
of ruin.
The world of ruin, and like the back half of the game is like everyone depressed, like we fucking lost, and the villain torched the planet and won, and now he's just cackling on his pile of garbage in the middle of the planet.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the game is let's try to get everyone back together and beat him again.
Yeah.
Try to fight again.
Maybe we can stop him before he finishes the job.
Yeah, and it's like this really like, and
Yeah.
Celis halfway through the game, she tries to kill herself because she's like, what's the point of fighting? And you really get this just beaten down sense of despair, and coupled with what I think is the best soundtrack in the series, you get this.
There's a lot of positive elements. I'm actually not a huge fan of it. I think I was too. I know. It's trust me. This is well-traveled territory for me, buddy. I think I was actually 217 when it came out. You know what I mean? Like ultimately,
Right.
that sort of was the problem. Not so much the game entirely.
That's how I was when 7 came out.
But it's got. I mean, the graphics are gorgeous. The soundtrack is gorgeous for the most part. Some of the characters are likable. Some of them are less.
Yeah, some of them, like, I think Gao kind of falls through, and Go-Go and Umaru, like, they're not great, but, like, Celis, Sabin, Setzer,
Yeah, Setzer and Celeste are my two favorites.
Yeah,
Locke,
Locke.
I like Locke.
yeah. There's a
Edgar.
lot to like.
Edgar's a dickhead.
I think I have a special sentimentality for this because, like, for me, it was like a get well gift when I was recovering from eye surgery.
Whoa.
So, like, once my vision had healed enough to read text, is just like, oh wow, this is great. I'm going to spend the next 3 weeks doing nothing but
That's
this.
awesome.
Huh?
I mean, well, not the surgery. Well, I mean,
Obviously.
hopefully it fixed your eyes.
Dude,
more
eye
or
surgery
less.
is awesome. Let's
No,
get
man.
some after this
Oh, those are
podcast.
fucked up, man. But
No, I mean that's just that story. Those stories you have when you're a kid. Those kind of moments
Yeah,
are just
yeah.
so fucking great.
it's like, man, remember when people used to buy us stuff?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
I mean, strangely enough, when I got 3, I had just had surgery on my foot to remove a blood clot that was, like, popping out of the bottom of my foot.
Jesus.
And I had to get it cut off.
You mean 6-3?
Yeah,
This is what we're
6-3.
talking about?
Yeah, and it was October 94, and
Well,
I'm like...
nothing happened to me.
And I'm like... But it's also
Yeah,
interesting to know-
94 was a very bad year for you
Yeah.
and me, apparently.
It was the first Final Fantasy I drove to go pick up.
7 was mine. Interesting note also about 6/3 when it came out in 94. If you think paying $60 for video games is expensive,
Ah, yes.
I would like to let everyone to know that when I bought it, and I think when we all bought it on launch day, that game was $80. It was $79.99 for a Super Nintendo 16-bit game. Like,
Yep.
And that was back when $80 was like, I guess it's like $100 now.
yeah, it was like this. Like, what? $80 for a game? And like trying to like
and then
explain.
Chrono Trigger right after.
Chrono Trigger was like the next August.
Of course, then the N64 came out, and that became standard for a little while.
Yeah.
$80 for Killer Instinct Gold.
God damn it!
$80 for Shadows of the Empire.
But Final
they got
Fantasy,
us good.
I definitely was disappointed. I think it was one of those cases of like Final Fantasy 6-3 taught me the lesson of if your expectations are so unbelievably high for something that no matter how good it is, you'll probably be disappointed by it.
Yep.
That was my important lesson from that.
That's how I felt about 8. I was like,
Yeah.
I sat down and read
Yeah.
like, I'm ready to be blown away. What the fuck is what this cutscene is 45 minutes long, and all I wanted to do was summon Quetzalcoatl, and this is taking forever.
Go ahead.
That's 45 minutes long.
Yeah, I need to tap. It's like track and field.
And push square to win? What am I doing?
Are you guys still talking about 6?
Yeah, welcome back.
All right, sorry.
We're talking about also. Yeah, you're just texting over there.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
All right, we're done,
I will
Chris, we're
say,
done.
I wanted to
Oh.
say, you had
Yeah.
mentioned it's an ensemble cast, and you and I actually got into like a small argument yesterday or maybe the day before. You were like, well, how do you pin down which is the best character? And I was like, Locke. Locke Cole, automatically, because he's the coolest. But then I thought about it, and it's like, no, what about Setzer? Well, what about Cayenne or Cyan or however it's pronounced? Or what about, and that's a good point that, like, all the characters are equally interesting, and it's not like, 4 where it was like Cecil and Rosa and Kane, and then everybody else is just kind of like a little side story.
They definitely. Well, that's what I mean. Actually, that interview I was referring to from OneUp, like Kitase said that like what they were planning to do was to try to make a game filled with main characters, where all the characters are equally strong. And personally, I found a lot of them annoying, and I wish they didn't have screen time. But you
Even
know,
Edgar and Sabine.
I didn't like Mash or Sab and Sabine or whatever.
Yeah.
Mash? Was that his Japanese
Yeah,
name?
Mash.
He's a beefy dude.
Well, it's actually, I don't know. It was it's a really interesting. I mean, like the thing is, like we said with Final Fantasy, it's like if you don't like one, wait a while, they'll make a different one, completely different game.
And
next.
it'll be barely recognizable.
But the thing is, there's always going to be something interesting. I think all the games, even the ones we don't like, generally in the series, there's something interesting about them.
Now, the ones that aren't on this list, we're done with the top 7 here, but real quick, the ones that aren't on here are 1, 2, 3, and 11. 11, we know why.
Yeah.
I argued that I almost put 1 on here because I must be in the minority, but I like playing through 1 every 3-4 years.
One's a good game. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the game.
I enjoy like the NES version that we got is like I think borderline broken, but like the remakes that kind of clean up and remove some of the just no.
I played through it on GBA.
Yeah, the GBA one and the PS1 version of Final Fantasy 1 and the PSP one by extension.
And iPhone just came out.
Really?
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
that's the one.
I mean, those are
Final
good.
Fantasy 1 was the best, not the best selling, but the highest earning app on the iPhone
today.
Like last week.
Really?
Was Final
No,
Fantasy.
today I checked today.
Well, I mean, but that for the week. You know what I mean?
Oh no, it's on all time.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it's up. It's at number 2, I think.
So there you go. Final
Yeah.
Fantasy 1 selling
That's
crazy
where I'll
on
buy
iPhone
it. That's
right
where I'll play it.
I mean, 1 is great.
Wait, do you know what version that
It's
is? Is that the one
super
they remade on
archaic.
the
now.
PSP?
Based on the PSP version.
Isn't that the one people don't like?
No,
I
it's
think
good.
it's fine.
That was the one where like your enemies are relative to your.
No, that's
your
that's
level?
2.
That's 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one that's on the.
No, they're
iPhone.
both on the iPhone as separate apps.
Okay.
1 and 2.
I
separate
see.
apps. So buy
And
1.
2 is the only one I've never played at all.
2 is the one that has a reputation for being broken and weird.
Yeah.
So I've also skipped it completely.
And then 3 on DS, I reviewed it, and it was. You really need to like RPGs to get through that.
too archaic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it,
That's
is it
enough.
kind of sad that I actually looked forward to 11?
Well, we all did.
I think
Yeah,
everybody
it's
was
like-
kind of curious about
I
it.
remember it was announced. It was like, oh, it'll be like playing Final Fantasy, but there'll be like other people.
Other
and, like,
people.
This was before I'd ever played an MMO, and it's like eventually it's like it'll be like Phantasy Star Online, but like Final Fantasy. And
Not so
no,
much.
and I get it. It's like I've just spent 40 hours killing random scrubs. Rabbits trying to get
And
a
the
pelt
MM
to do something
The
or other.
MMO genre has grown so much since then.
Oh God!
No,
That's why I can't believe it's still going. And 11's still getting updates.
Actually,
Yeah.
11 has completely changed its gameplay almost. Like
Really?
Yeah,
Like-
they've updated tremendously.
So they've made it really easy to become a Jedi then.
Final Fantasy 11, without getting too much into it, I think it's actually by the time a couple years rolled around, they'd actually smoothed out a lot of the problems with it. But at that point, I just didn't care.
Okay.
And I can't believe that they're doing that with 14. They're going to do it again.
No,
Because I think it's
We don't- you
incredibly
can't believe-
profitable. It's incredibly profitable.
Okay.
I know. But like almost too ridiculous. People, what I've noticed about it's just like their Netflix account. People forget to cancel their MMO subscription for like a year after they're not playing it.
Right.
And
they don't want to. Like it's a sunk cost of all the you put all that time into.
yeah, and you almost you don't want to say I'm see what I'll check back in a month. Maybe I want to.
14 might be interesting though. I mean, I might give 14 a spin when it actually comes out, depending on what's going on at the time.
It might be different because we're in an age of PSN and Xbox Live.
It's going to be very different in terms of it's just going to be. I think they've said something. They're being very vague about the gameplay, and of course the beta starts soon, so we'll find out finally. But it should. I think they're going to evolve it. Final Fantasy 11 was very much based on like EverQuest 1, because it was all that was around when they started.
Yeah.
Because it took Final Fantasy 11 took 2 years or something to come here. Also, so you know what I mean. There was like by the time it came here, it was kind of old.
Oh yeah, because it was like 03 by the time.
I want to talk about a Final Fantasy.
Yes.
Before we go to break.
Go.
And this, Spirits Within.
That's a movie.
What about it?
It is a movie
That came out a few months
The
ago.
only connection that has to any of the Final Fantasy games
know.
is there's a guy named Sid, and there's some bullshit about the planet and spirits.
Well, Sakaguchi was.
It does look.
Who here was, at least hoping to see a chocobo somewhere?
I still haven't seen it. Actually.
There's one in a briefcase.
I saw it in the theater.
It is.
How's this for a weird
I did too.
scenario? I saw the Final Fantasy movie in a theater in Branson, Missouri.
That's
Dang.
believable. It was
You passed up Yakov
on.
Smirnoff to
No,
go
I
see
saw that. That was a different trip.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
So why do you
In
want to bring it up?
Southeast Missouri.
Because I didn't have anything like we had all these Final Fantasy games. I usually grab audio of every game, and there's not out of context with no visuals. Interesting Final Fantasy. The voice acting is pretty good. Final Fantasy Spirits Within. I thought it was the first movie Columbia Sony released theatrically since
T2.
Care Bears 2: the first animated.
Oh, okay.
Care Bears 2: The Next Generation.
I remember that movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, I saw that in the theater too.
Care Bear cousin.
Wait, I mean not.
What?
I did see Care Bears 2. I did not see Final Fantasy Spirits Within in theaters. So
You didn't? How did you not?
I've never seen Spirits Within ever.
Really?
Yeah.
I
thought it was a bad idea.
You
I
could
thought
probably
Sakaguchi
just
was.
find a DVD of it under someone's couch cushion.
Oh yeah, I know. No, I mean at this point, I didn't want to see it. Obviously, I wasn't like I did.
It's not.
I knew how to go to a movie theater and give them money. To get in. I knew how that worked.
It's still a cool movie. It's not a terrible movie.
Yeah.
It just has no business with.
Yeah.
the
I was
Final
mad.
Fantasy
I was
crowd.
really mad at the direction Square. At the time, this is total fanboy talk, but I was very mad at the direction I thought Square was going.
Yeah.
They announced the MMO. I was already an MMO skeptic because I had all these friends who played EverQuest and they were complete slaves to it. I was, annoyed at the idea of them spending all this, time and money making this movie. It didn't seem to really have anything to do with Final Fantasy. So I was like,
It has. I can't imagine. It doesn't have anything to do with Final Fantasy.
But-
It's so.
No,
It looks like in-game scenes, cutscenes of Mass Effect right now.
Yeah, that's what's weird is the cutting edge of 2001 looks like a CG
A very
cutscene
sterile
now.
trip through the uncanny valley
Yeah.
in space. It looks exactly like that.
With Ben Affleck.
With Ben, played by. Hold on, I have a clip.
Played by Alec Baldwin.
I have a small clip that Michael just ruined, but we'll guess the voice
you
actors
can
here.
edit that out.
Captain Edwards,
Who is this?
you extracted a Dr. Ross from Old New York several days ago, did you not?
Yes, sir.
What were your impressions of Dr. Ross?
She seemed very capable and determined, sir.
You and the Deep Eyes are being temporarily reassigned.
We can hear Alec Baldwin in there, right?
It does. That other guy sounds just like every shitty JRPG voice actor.
Does he? Because he is the connection to the Final Fantasy universe.
Oh, well.
Because everybody else who was in that movie, you told me Tracy Morgan was in it. I'm like, I gotta see it. You were thinking of
Tracy
Ving
Morgan
Rhames.
plays the Chocobo.
And it turns out I was thinking of Ving
James
Rhames
Woods
all
is in it.
along.
Get off me, man.
James
Quack,
Woods is almost
quack.
reason enough to see that.
James Woods and Steve Buscemi. Steve Buscemi in a SquareSoft Final
Wow.
Fantasy product.
That
It just-
was that? him
If
talking?
Saz
No.
Saz was not black in Final Fantasy 13, Steve Buscemi would be good casting.
No, I try to just. I know we all haven't. We haven't revisited this movie in a long time, and probably never will again. And I wanted to try and find something to talk about in Final Fantasy Week. That was Matt McKenzie, who's the voice of Aaron. He played the role of Major Elliot. And John DiMaggio is buried in there somewhere. And I think this is all because it was concurrent with Final
10.
Fantasy X.
So crazy.
Yeah, it came out about 6 months before 10.
But yeah, Matt
10 is what
McKenzie.
made me all like Square again. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
you guys are
yeah.
all right. You've redeemed yourselves.
Yes.
Good going. You pulled
Because
that
the
one.
weird thing with 10 was like it came out. I felt like it came out early or something.
It felt early for the PS2.
I swear it was supposed to come out in 2002.
Oh yeah, no. What happened is the way it works with the console companies is that if you have a really big game coming out, sometimes they'll you have to get in line to have your game manufactured because they only have a certain capacity.
Right.
But they let Square jump the queue basically, and they said, no, this game is a big enough deal. We'll manufacture it so it makes it out in time for just barely. It came out like December 20th.
Yeah, it was like mid-December 01, and I freaked out. Like I was at Toys R Us at the time and cut open a box, and then lost the next 2 weeks to just devouring it.
It's really good. You should all play it.
I was living in California at the time. I'd moved out here in 2000. I called the GameStop in New Jersey because I was flying home to go home for Christmas and reserved my copy over the phone in New Jersey.
Wow.
Picked it up while I was there.
Hey, who's this fucking queer who wants to play his Japanese game? This is my New Jersey impression.
It's pretty. I mean, it's not really how it went down.
Look at this guy. Why don't you play some fucking Madden? Put some pants on.
That actually happened to me. That happened to me. The same store. That was a software, etc. I went in to pick up my reserved copy of Jumping Flash for the PlayStation 1.
Hell yeah.
It came out the same day as Madden. So the guy looks at me and goes, SNES or Genesis? And I'm like, what? I didn't know what he was talking about. I'm like, what? And he's like, SNES or Genesis, Madden. And I'm like, I came to pick up Jumping Flash. And he rolled his eyes and said, what? I said, I reserved this game, Jumping Flash, for the PlayStation. And he's like, and he got all pissed off. He had to move the boxes of Madden and look for my fucking game.
This guy, Jumping Flash, coming here asking me for Jumping Flash. I was in Madden mode.
Jumping Flash.
Jumping Flash. More like jumping trash. Man, get out of here without your Madden. To the moon and all that. More cliches. Let's go to break. Let's go to break. I got to piss. Get back. What we're going to play in the break is that right after we did the Heavy Rain thing with the European American audio.
Right, last week.
SNL did a sketch on Norwegian. What was it called?
Yeah,
Norwegian Radio
Norwegian Actors Studio. And it didn't occur to me until the day after the article went up that it's like, oh yeah, none of our UK readers can actually watch the Hulu clip because they have territorial restrictions.
Now you can hear it.
Yeah.
And it's completely audible, audio worthy. You'll like it. Get back. We got a bunch of clips to play from new releases specifically. I think we're can't not touch on the Infinity Ward Activision situation. And
that's a very interesting situation.
Yeah.
That situation, it's interesting.
It's. Do I have an interesting sound effect? Ooh, stimulating.
I'm Joel McHale from Blank Blank, and you're listening to TalkRadar.
Hello, welcome to International Masterworks. Tonight we are proud to present an extraordinary find, an original work from the Norwegian Actors Playhouse. Although this small company is based in Norway, they chose to replicate the style of an American police drama. The actors spent months perfecting their American accents, and the results are astounding. You would never guess the actors are speaking their second language. We begin in the gritty world of New York City, where two officers are interrogating a criminal.
So, you better tell us, mister. Did you do a crime of making graffiti? We found a spray paint in the bin.
Of course, I did not.
Don't make me cross! I haven't drank my coffee from the donut store yet.
Well, I suppose you better keep drinking because I have not made any wrongdoings at all, copper.
It's Detective Joe Smith. Memorize this name. I'm starting to become very cross with you.
Joe, do you want me to strike him with a knuckle sandwich?
Nah, John. I'll just read this newspaper of the Daily News and wait. Give me my Marlboro cigarettes, will ya?
I didn't make a graffiti.
You'll notice that the writers have painstakingly recreated American dialogue styles. In this next scene, the very famous Nina Medbeau portrays the young outlaw's broken-hearted mother.
My son is innocent of this. Can't you give us a break, man? We'll just go back to our ghetto and listen to the local radio DJ, please.
You think I don't know what it's like? I grew up in the streets of Times Square, man. We all had to mug each other. Everywhere we looked was pollution. But I became a tough cop with a cigarette.
And I became his partner in this, yeah.
I don't have a choice, you guy. I'm gonna throw you in with all the other robbers.
I want to speak with the barristers.
Hard to imagine that these actors are from Oslo and have never once been to America. This final scene particularly showcases their grasp of American culture.
You better speak.
Don't strike me.
Let my son be.
Wait! It's time for the baseball match to start. My favorite team is playing the World Series.
The baseball has been thrown. The batter hits the ball. And the player hits a home run. We wait for the score, and the Pittsburgh Pirates are at number 1.
Yes! Oh, that is great, man. Let's all go to Jim's bar and have a beer.
Oh, slap me 5.
Slap everything 5.
Thank you for watching International Masterworks. Join us next week when the Mexican Ballet performs Kabuki Theater. Good night.
That's pretty funny.
Okay, kid, show me what you got. Yeah, right. Next. Yes. Next. Ooh, scary. Next. Next. Next.
Final Fantasy III. Do you have what it takes? Final Fantasy III from Squaresoft.
Next.
I'd buy that for $1.
Oh my God, TalkRadar 91. I'd like to get into new releases, but we have what is this? Is this complete the cycle? Every member of the Games Radar US staff has been on mic. In former staff, we have Carolyn Goodmanson revealing her score. Final Fantasy 13.
10.
It's a 10. That's all she'll. That's all you'll say. Wow, I said one word. I didn't think she'd actually stand by it.
That's all we got.
So I guess it's up on the site. Tell Carolyn you want to hear more of her. Yeah. And she's already gone.
Bye.
Out of the thief in the night. She is gone.
Out of the room.
I had so many questions. Hi everybody.
Well, I watched most of it get played. Ask me.
I don't know.
I'm forced to conclude that she hates the podcast, Brett.
Well,
either way, that was Carolyn, who we're now going to refer to as
in denial.
Refer to as Carolyn Goodman 10. Carolyn Goodman 10.
Oh, she'll like that.
Yeah. New
Carolyn
releases.
10.
We should we talked so long about Final Fantasy.
What about Carolyn Rentintin?
What about 10?
So we're going to talk about Infinity Ward?
We will in a second. I
right.
just have to get through this absolute awfulness of new releases because there seem to be too many this week.
Too many, yeah. It's a big 2010 has been like the best beginning of a year ever.
Every week, almost every week since January. The first week was Bayonetta and Darksiders.
And some weeks are.
Oh yeah, Darksiders. I kind of forgot about Darksiders.
Yeah.
I didn't play it at the time because I was playing Bayonetta, and it's like.
I'm interested.
I just bought Bioshock 2 today. I don't have time to play Darksiders. I have Heavy Rain. I haven't played that yet. I mean, it's like
I'm still playing Mass Effect 2.
Good. Yeah, I haven't. No, I want to play Darksiders. I just mean like there's just so much shit, man.
Yeah.
So many games
So when Chris is ready, we'll.
Yeah, well.
I cannot believe she jumped off that quickly. I thought I could trick her into staying longer.
I thought she was gonna at least say something else.
I literally thought that's what she was gonna do. So, I feel.
New releases this week. Hi, everybody.
I love the ads on our site that are Star Wars: The Force Unleashed Space Camp.
What?
Yeah, look
Space
at
Camp?
win the new game, Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. Trip to Huntsville, Alabama.
Somebody sent that to me. I'm
to
like,
go to
that's
space
probably
camp.
old.
Go to space camp.
We should delete that.
The Force is strong.
Play an old game and get to fulfill an older fantasy. Go to space camp because you're a kid from 1986.
Jinx and Max to space.
So out this week.
We have Lips Party Classic.
Okay, next.
And I remove the classic.
Lips
Party sounds like something that would be in 60 Minutes about things 16-year-olds are doing.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Like a rainbow party.
I really like Innis. I like Keishiano.
What are you talking about?
Developer.
Oh, okay.
Developer.
Alice in Wonderland.
Which got an 8 on our site.
I had to look through it all. It looks really fucking cool.
The Wii one.
The Wii version specifically.
Really?
Yeah, it looks like absolute, unbelievable quality. I will say that this ties into what we last played, that the Johnny Depp doesn't appear to be Johnny Depp. In fact, he seems to be Scottish.
Now you're back, we should hurry along. The Majesty.
So wait, who's the developer of this game? Do we know?
I can look.
I don't know.
I'm actually on the page.
So is it just that the horribleness of Wii game plus horribleness of movie game just cancel each other out?
Yeah, I think it was both of that. Everybody expected it to be terrible, and I've only watched the first hour on YouTube is kind of gorgeous to watch. You play as all these different characters that all move very fluidly.
It gives hope for Epic Mickey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, Alice.
The developer is Étranges Libules.
And
they're French, I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, it's a French. I can't pronounce.
All you gotta do
is stranger.
All you gotta do is
Étrange, Libules.
And then go look at the DS game, and even the cover art will tell you that it looks like we say what Joan Vasquez. It looks like.
Yeah.
It looks like it.
It does.
Yeah, it's a really bizarre, stylized version of Alice in Wonderland using the same characters from the Tim Burton movie.
Well, I mean, Disney Interactive has said they want their games to be good. And,
Yeah.
of course, you don't believe them because they're Disney Interactive,
Yes.
but maybe it's true.
But here we are.
But Pixar's righting that ship, so there we go. Most excitingly, MLB 2K, the show, and MLB 2K10, which I realized working in this business for a while now, I don't know the difference between...
The show is Sony.
Yeah.
Next.
Baseballs.
Time to get moving.
Sonic Classic Collection on DS.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah.
another compilation
Yeah,
of Sonic
what's strange
games?
is I'm a huge sucker for the Genesis one, so I end up buying them over and over again.
Wait, so is this a Genesis
This is
one?
pretty ridiculous.
It's 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles.
Did Knuckles lock on to 3, or is that too technologically complicated this time around?
It does actually.
You actually have to put a disc in on top of the other disc.
I thought it couldn't be just 4 of these Sonic games because I think every Sonic collection has included more than the
there
first
hasn't been
4.
one for DS.
Yeah, there hasn't been one for DS, and it's just the 4.
It's just the 4. But
I don't see any reviews for it at all,
It
which
does
I
use
was
the
going to
lock-on
buy it, but
technology.
after the fucking horrible mess that was Sonic the Hedgehog Genesis for Game Boy Advance, that was just supposed to be
Yes.
the first Sonic
that
on
was a
Game Boy Advance,
disaster.
and they fucked it up. It's like the GBA is
they-
well powerful enough to run that game.
It's the lowest bidder syndrome. They have no time. You know what I mean? It's like you have 3 months to do this, and,
Right.
You're in Kazakhstan. It's like it's not.
So if the emulation is strong, I would actually buy it. But if it's going to be that situation again, forget it.
This is going to bother people. I don't know enough about Supreme Commander 2.
Subcom 2.
Yeah, I know my roommate loved the shit of the first one. The first one is highly revered and published by Square Enix.
Yep,
it is now. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Was that just part of the IDOS?
Nope.
takeover?
This was actually prior to the IDOS thing. They actually first game was published by THQ. I think it was THQ.
I remember being at a Sega press conference. And what's his nuts from
Chris
Gas
Taylor
Powered
from-
Games.
Chris Taylor from Gas
yeah,
Powered
he
Games, yeah.
came out in a partnership. We're going to publish through Sega. Well, here was your chance, and you missed it.
Well, Sega published one of their other games, Space Garbage or whatever it was
Space
called.
Garbage. That's probably what it
All
was.
I remember was that the demo I saw of the game. It was some RPG that was in space, and the guy's like, "Look how much items!" He showed 50 oil barrels flying out into space, and I'm like, "Wow, space garbage." I am not good with the PC games.
Brett, this isn't. It's usually we list them in order of what well, I say we, but I find important.
Right.
I know a lot more people are more excited about this, but Brett captured audio for the game that precedes it. Also came out this week that I believe no one in the room played, Battlefield 2, Bad Company 2.
No, I haven't yet.
Nobody's played, but the reviews are very, very good.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah, I hear it's really good, actually. The first game was like one of those games that no one really, like, no one I knew was like into it, but it sold super well and people really liked it. It was one of those things, one of those real moments when you, as like a game journalist, remember, oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of people out there buying video games. And sort of, we are superfluous to an extent.
Well, I love the Battlefield series, and I love DICE, and I just wasn't. The minute they said there was going to be a single player and characters, like that turned me off.
Right.
But the multiplayer's gotten fantastic reviews.
Yeah, it's averaging an 89, and I mean,
this is fantastic.
It's mostly positive stuff, so I mean,
and
but I have not played. The only Battlefield I've played is 1942 on Xbox Live, not even PC.
43,
whatever.
I got to correct Brett on a date.
That's technically not a date. That's a title.
You guys are on a date?
Yes.
Chris.
Walking dick and dick.
Still having that
That's
touching contest.
Complicated.
It is, but it's. Oh, fuck, I forgot what I was going to say. It's like, you ever seen two love bugs have sex? That's what our dicks look like.
The cars?
No.
So it's like one is inside the other?
Yes.
Is that the scenario you're
Yeah.
describing? How do you walk like that? You'd have to be like Siamese twins or something.
Isn't that like
crab walking sideways?
It looks like we're at a business retreat and trying to get an egg across the finish line really fast.
Isn't it like is that like two guys fucking a Chinese finger trap?
Yes, there you go.
Oh, that's
that makes sense.
There you go.
And now, well, how do we?
I think that's actually
the finger trap is a dick.
Yes.
I think that's a challenge on Tool Academy this season. Actually.
You want that washer dryer, don't you?
What I haven't really seen before is someone play through the entire single player of a game a week and a half before release and post it on YouTube, which is what happened to Battlefield, including the ending, which is in the 24th video, which I will now play for you in its entirety. I sped it up by 500%, so this is the ending of Battlefield 2.
I don't believe
Alvin! That's all I got.
I had to see that movie in the theater.
Wait, like the new one?
The squeak one.
I'm doing like classic.
There it
now.
is. All done.
My niece wanted to see it, so I had to go.
Would be really fun. You can slow it down by 500% and hear what's happening, and then our voices will take on the Dave played at 40. Not saying anybody do that, but that's
somebody do that and then post the MP3 because I want to know.
A little homework assignment.
Also, this week is that RE5 DLC, the Desperate.
I didn't know that.
What's it called? Resident Evil 5 DLC.
Desperate for money.
Desperate.
Wait, no, I got a comedy noise. There you go.
Lost
nice
in Desperate Escape. It's the new DLC. It's out on PSN and Xbox Live Arcade this week. It's Jill and a guy named Josh, and they're running, shooting enemies.
Rootin' tootin' shooting?
And it's part of the Gold Edition that comes out next week.
That was a sound effect.
It was from a game.
We also have on Brett's list is what is this? Lunar Silver Star Harmony?
Yeah, Lunar Silver Star Harmony for PSP, which is a remake of a Sega CD game.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting about that game is that it's come out on Sega CD, came out on the Saturn and PlayStation, came out on GBA, now it's coming out on PSP, and like aside from Saturn and PlayStation, they've never literally reused the game again. It's always they've completely made it from scratch.
They just keep redoing it, and then
it's always the same game.
No, it's
mostly
the Sega CD one is the one I'm familiar with, and I love it.
Uh-huh.
I didn't play the PlayStation one at all, but I played the GBA one, didn't really like it, and I'm playing the PSP one now, and so far I'm not really digging it because it's adding even more stuff to the plot that's making it even more convoluted, like just making it even more melodramatic and dumb.
I think the people who remade Lunar don't really entirely understand what was good about Lunar. It's like a typical thing when you handle something like, it's like...
It's really weird. They keep the same art style and the same basic characters.
You think they would, because I'd imagine there'd have to be something behind it cashing in on cashing in on Looter sounds like a silly statement.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, yeah, I mean, you can't really cash in that hard, but I mean, we are talking about a game that originally came out in 1993 in America, and it was like 92 maybe in Japan.
In Japan, probably, yeah. I mean, I love. It also has that PSP bullshit of every RPG that looks like that. Like Ys had this problem where like every door you walk in a town is a loading screen. Every room you walk in is a loading screen.
Yeah, reminding me of why I don't play PSP anymore.
Yeah, and sometimes Sometimes I'll walk up to a treasure chest and push circle, healing herb. Fuck! Like, forget it. Fucking forget it. It's garbage. So
it looks. I played it. I mean, that aside. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how far you are. I played the demo at TGS. I thought it looked good.
It does. It looks great, and the music is high quality. And even though I like the Sega CD soundtrack better, I grabbed some audio of. It's got all new voice acting, of course. But I grabbed some audio from the Sega CD version just because I thought it'd be fun to play the Sega CD audio of some of the voice actors. In the beginning, the one that's Alex. This is the beginning of the game where Alex doesn't talk in the Sega CD. Yeah, see, you know it.
Alex,
oh, man.
You are,
there you are, Alex. I've been looking all over for you.
All right.
What are you doing back here again?
Right,
Let everybody...
Wow!
There you are, Alex. I've been looking all over for you. What are you doing back here again?
Well, bam!
And the music? So pleasant.
I know you really look up to Dragon Master Dine, but this is ridiculous. If Dine were still alive today, I'm sure he'd tell you to stop jimmying about his exciting quest.
Jimmying about. I never understood that line.
And set out on your own fantastic adventures.
Is he saying? I mean, is Null saying dreaming, or it sounds like jimmying about?
It does, yeah.
So what's holding you back?
I have to be dreaming.
What's weird is obviously they've,
a chick and they sped her up.
It's kind of creepy that it seems to be singing along with the background music at the beginning.
Alex.
Does she auto-tune?
Oh, Alex.
Just that beginning of saying, like that's burned into my brain forever.
Yep.
I'll be oh my god.
That's the first thing you hear.
It's even like it's in time with the music.
It's like, it's the first thing you hear, I think, even when the game starts.
Well, I mean, when you start a new game, like you can watch the awesome cutscene with the awesome song.
I'm motioning that we close the podcast with that song.
I think we should.
Yeah. All right.
Agreed.
Which we played it. Well, we'll talk about that later.
Stay tuned. What a tease.
Oh, man. We'll talk about that later. But the next one is the villain. And one of these might be like a minute long, but what's the next one?
So, Alex, you've turned.
Yeah, this is Alex and Null, who's the name of the little squeaky voice thing. This is, several hours later in the game. You've come back to your hometown and you're going to see this old wise dragon, and like now you've got some friends with you, and he sees this guy you have with you, and it turns out it's actually the main villain,
Perfidy,
who then goes on a RPG style just scream rant, and then it has a sound effect of like him. Wait, we need some sound effects of him running away, so it's like footsteps as he's still laughing, like, ha 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 ha!
Yes! That wasn't it. This is it.
All right.
So, Alex, you've returned.
That's the dragon.
And this time you brought another friend with you. Wait, Galleon, is that you?
Uh-oh.
I haven't seen you since we lost Dime.
Oh, no.
Yes, dear Quark. And if not for you, he would still be
alive! So
part of me died that black day. But now, dear friend, things are changing again.
Yeah.
I'll soon rule the world. But first, you have to
die!
What are you doing?
No. I thought that Galleon sounded so awesome, but now he sounds like,
now that that's taken
Fred
care of, only the goddess help.
Alright, here's his cackling running.
It said,
Ina stands in my way. Soon, the whole world will be mine!
Wait, laugh.
Listen carefully.
Alright.
You must become
He's sad. Forget it.
He's dying. The dragon's dying.
Shut him up. Shut him up. His name's Quark and he's dead now.
His name's Fighty in the Japanese version. Did they locate?
Fighty?
So in the PSP version, is it Quark?
I call the big one Fighty.
Oh, jeez.
So is it Quark in the PSP?
I haven't got to that point because they added a whole other beginning to the game. Like there's a 30-minute thing before Alex. Then the last one is just more Galleon being a JRPG villain. I find it amusing to make fun of this. He's clapping.
Very impressive, Alex. You just killed the only remaining means of becoming a Dragon Master.
He is condescending, isn't he?
You're making this way too easy. Now the goddess is completely unprotected. She's mine to control. The world is my oyster!
Yeah.
Like, go back to his laugh, though. Like, listen to his his throat, like, shatter.
Control. The world is my oyster!
It's like Mark Hamill Joker laugh. What the fuck was that? The Apollo Theater?
Yeah, apparently it's Bernie Mac.
That's all. So my 5-minute review of Lunar Silver Star Harmony is don't buy the PSP one.
Oh, really?
Like, I just so far the
you were so excited.
Everyone was about to spend $30 on a PSP game.
I spent the $40 collector's edition because I wanted to pretend I was still in the Working Designs era and get some foil packaging.
I want to buy it, but I want to buy it when they,
I think Working Designs would include something more interesting and more expensive than a bunch of trading cards.
It's a bunch of shitty trading cards, and it came with the soundtrack.
You would get like a cloth map and an art book,
a watch.
And everything would be like embossed in pink foil.
Yes.
Our games go to 11, man.
It looks like Easter candy dumped out on a table.
I would say don't play the GBA one, don't play this one.
Oh, man.
I would say play the Sega CD one, but nobody will.
Pulling a long winter day.
I mean, I don't know.
The PS1 one, I guess.
I would say that, for me, I played through the whole game on Saturn in Japanese. I played through half the English version on PlayStation 1. I played a bunch of the GBA when I reviewed it. That game really apexed on the Sega CD at the time.
Strangely.
You know what I mean? You really have to, have played it. I don't feel like there's any going back to Lunar in a weird way, unfortunately.
Oh, well. Yeah? Wait, let's finish this.
We have completed...
Let's finish that. Yeah?
Brett, for fuck's sake!
That's a little noise from Bionic Commando.
Bionic Commando. I was swinging through the trees, and I was playing the game, and I had headphones on, and I thought someone was saying my name in the office, so I kept... Because no one's named Brett in a fucking video game.
Never.
That game didn't happen anyway.
It's so bad.
Tell that to Grin.
They don't exist.
They're dead.
I broke a mirror.
I actually, Ulf's a nice guy, so I'd really feel bad saying, "Hey, your company is gone out of business. I want to let you know that a year ago I played your game and it was shit." I don't feel like that's appropriate.
Right.
If I see him at GDC, I'll think about it.
We have to.
I broke a mirror because of that game.
That was new releases.
Did you like it?
My award for game name of the week, Tecmo Bowl Throwback.
Right.
Which is very. Have you seen the PSP trailers for the Dead or Alive game?
Yeah, the tit game.
Yeah, which is
Newsack
Dead or Alive, Creeptastic Fuckhouse, or whatever they're called.
Yes.
It's like even without Itagaki.
Yeah, I call it Chris Antista's House of Spank because it's actually like I don't know. I feel funny when I watch it.
Well,
I don't usually get aroused by anything, but they're like, I don't know, it's so intentional. And then
the Japanese slogan, I can't remember exactly, but it was this was pointed out on Twitter by Ray Barnholt from 1UP, but the Japanese slogan translated to something like it was like fun in the palm of your hand or something. Like they're really making it obvious.
In America, here's what I'm thinking. Dead or Alive, beach volleyball, Poner. Yes, it wasn't as funny as I expected it to be. Poner.
Is that like PWNER?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
You will get a Poner. It doesn't matter. I just find it bizarre.
You've been boned, BWNED.
It's almost bizarre now to think, because I've written a couple things recently on Tecmo's constant erectile predatory behavior. Like everything they sell is based off of jiggling tits, and I don't know. It's bizarre to think of. They made a football game that people care about, and they're remaking.
They have in the past.
What? I don't. Everything they even Ninja Gaiden they sold on jiggling tits.
Rygar.
The PS2 Rygar was fine, but then the Wii remake.
You were so excited about that Wii remake.
God! Because in my mind it was
he wanted to flick.
You're like, it's the same game. They just changed the look of the main character,
which was
it's so good.
Was a horrible new look.
He has white hair now.
He looks like fucking Super Saiyan.
Okay, but I guess it'd be stupid if we didn't talk about the Infinity Ward Activision Roundup.
Well, we can talk about it real quick. Did you see that Itagaki from Tecmo announced his company and everything? That's cool.
And they settled his lawsuit with Tecmo?
Settled his lawsuit with Tecmo.
Wait, what's his company?
It's called Valhalla Games.
Valhalla Games. What have they announced the game to go
No,
with?
they haven't, but he said that he's expecting his game to, he said in Famitsu that he's hoping that his game will sell 4 million copies.
Whoa.
He thinks it'll be a global hit.
You know,
he says that he's never made a game that was able to be, it's very difficult. He's only twice in his career been able to make a game that was a critical success, a fan favorite, and was commercially successful all at the same time because of the constraints of game making, but he expects to hit all 3 this time.
Wow. All right.
So, there's some good news for you.
Let's get into the depressing Infinity Ward Activision
Yeah, let's
stuff.
go into Infinity Ward.
Which, I talked to Dan Emmerich, and he sent an official statement that says everything you've heard is all true.
Did he have a blog post about it?
No, I'm just kidding. I think it's one of those situations where
I don't
you
want to
can't
touch that one.
You can't say much about it. I don't think Dan.
No, Dan's not the person. Well, I mean, I don't know. What did Dan comment on something else he shouldn't have been talking about? What was it?
No
Recently.
idea.
It was like
his One of Swords Twitter is kind of where we're getting.
One of Swords. No, it was One of Swords blog post. What was it?
Yes, blog.
He told me what Dan told me to pass along, which I didn't actually talk to.
Was believe all the rumors.
Yes,
They're all true.
Everything you read on the internet is true.
Yeah, right. Just in general.
Actually, it's probably I think he said to pass along that it's probably 10 times worse than that.
But the long and short of it was
Obama is actually from Planet Kenya.
Which was in WTC 7.
Oh, yes.
And he was there. He was actually lighting the fuse.
It's really hard to get across a long and short of it. I think what people do know now is that senior executives, Vince Campbell, Jason West, have been let go from Infinity Ward.
Yes.
Who were the founders of Infinity Ward?
Yes. They originally, the irony here is that they originally left EA.
Yes.
They'd worked on Medal of Honor, made that series awesome. They're like, we can't get what we want, we can't do what we want at EA, so let's go to Activision.
Which they said in the past, like in a recent interview
later,
with CVG, that like they wouldn't let us make a Modern Warfare game. Activision Activision refused to budge on that. Like we had to really fight to make Modern Warfare.
Yep.
And here it is. And now there was a rumor that a couple weeks ago that they won't be doing Modern Warfare 3, and that might come next year, which it won't.
Well, no, Treyarch. Well, no, this year's Treyarch. Next year is Sledgehammer.
Which is weird. Sledgehammer, the guys from Visceral Games, or
yeah, Glenn Schofield,
the guys who are responsible for Dead Space, and then they call it an action adventure as if maybe it won't be an FPS.
Well, that's the rumor. Yeah.
Well, as soon as they introduced that third-person camera in Modern Warfare 2, I'm like, well, they're testing. It feels like they're testing the water here for.
That didn't work so well.
The thing is that my understanding is that Infinity Ward doesn't have much of an interest in collaborating. Doesn't have much of an interest in collaborating. So I actually wouldn't assume that. I mean, if they're testing it for their own use, not to see what. I mean, I don't think. My understanding is like the wall between Infinity Ward and Treyarch is a wall for which information does not pass.
Right.
They don't really care about helping Treyarch. They're just concerned with making their games. Making their games, they're worried about their Call of Duties and Treyarch's Call of Duty and whoever else might be. So.
That's not unreasonable.
It isn't. It isn't. I mean, I mean, some of the stuff that I know may not be accurate. Some of it's kind of the kind of stuff we should talk about, but it's.
Well, whatever you gotta say, whatever you can say.
These are hard to do things.
Yeah.
I mean, Activision is over-reliant on the success of Call of Duty at this point.
Yes.
They don't have a lot else going.
That was because they said, well, this year we're gonna have one DJ hero and one guitar hero, which there's been 9 guitar heroes a year.
Yeah.
Been relying on that. We're gonna have a new Tony Hawk franchise to kick. Whoopsie daisy. Don't have that anymore.
There is going to be another Tony Hawk this year, though.
Other than
but it's 1/10 of the sales, or 1/20th of the sales of what it used to cost.
I think it came out to 500K, which isn't a bad number for games.
I'm sure they were expecting more,
but I was upset.
I'm sure they projected more in all of their budgets.
They increased Robomoto's staff by 17%, and I don't care if it didn't work as a concept. That game was ugly and broken.
Yeah.
You just fall through pieces of the environment. If I was using a controller, I would say that sucks, but I was too busy falling off and twisting my ankle to yell at the shortcomings of the visual department of the game. But Shaba and Neversoft...
Well, do they actually own Robomoto, or is Robomoto...
I actually don't know that.
I think Robomoto might still be... independent. I'm not sure, though.
I don't know that.
And you're right, though. Shaba probably could have made a better Tony Hawk game.
Yes.
Shaba. At the height of Shaba.
Again, we've mentioned this before, but Web of Shadows, the last Spider-Man game, was good.
Yeah.
I thought
it was Shaba was always a solid studio.
And then it's like, really? Now
Shaba made good games.
Now is when you crack the whip on
sucks.
Shaba?
We were talking about just if you work at a game developer, and what's the benefit to being swallowed up by EA or Activision? Like, well, you know what that is? That's security.
Yeah.
Yeah, not so much.
How the fuck is this security there? Like, Infinity Ward may crumble tomorrow.
Well, the thing is that, like, I mean, it's a rapidly evolving industry, right? I mean, this. It seemed like security doesn't seem as secure anymore. Obviously, the Infinity Ward guys found that out. What's going to be really fucked up is when the Infinity Ward guys, if they start their own company, then like EA is going to be down on its knees begging for them to make Medal of Honor or something, and it's all going to start over
the
again.
first times I think we can see where like a developer can sort of write their own ticket. There's nobody who would say no to putting money into a new Infinity Ward.
Nope.
Did you know our last game made $2 billion? Oh. Okay.
Then again, I mean, a lot of the theories that are out there and that are based on solidly known things from people who are in the know is that Infinity Ward's contract said that for their next game they could make their original IP. It would not be a Call of Duty game. It would not be Modern Warfare 3. So we're looking at there being Call of Duty from Treyarch this year, whatever that's called. Next year would be Sledgehammer. The year after that would be, or maybe the same time as the Sledgehammer Call of Duty would have been Infinity Ward's original IP game.
Right.
And the theory is that Activision said no and then found a way to oust them so that they could make Modern Warfare 3 happen. But what we don't know is, not to say anything against Infinity Ward, but maybe their original IP wouldn't have worked out. Maybe there was actually some more to the story. We just don't know. It could have been the next Mirror's Edge rather than the next Halo. You know what I mean?
There's very few people.
The impression that I'm getting is that Activision has a goose that lays golden eggs, and they think,
we
want more golden eggs.
No,
I mean, cut open the goose.
I'm not. Trust me, you really catch me being sympathetic to Activision. I just thought I really feel like people are under considering the other implications, or not implications, because for all I know, the Infinity Ward new IP was going to be like better than Call of Duty ever was, right? There's a distinct possibility it could have been incredible, but the point is we just don't know.
I think if anybody has the capital to give a new IP a shot, it'd be the people who are relying on Guitar Hero and nothing else that I can see but licensed.
Actually, the funny thing is that Activision. That's the thing. They're over reliant on Call of Duty, and that's why they're scared at the idea of what if this comes out and it sells? I mean, I'm not saying that the game would have been the next Mirror's Edge, and I'm not imputing Mirror's Edge as a good game, but it's like well, they're looking at this like okay, we can either sell 12 million copies of Modern Warfare 3 or 500,000 of
I would say 1 million. IP. But I mean, seriously, what's going to happen once there's a different Call of Duty game by the people who didn't shepherd it into the world?
I don't know.
Eventually it's going to dry up in like 2 years.
Whatever happens when what happens when Treyarch makes one.
I'm just saying.
No, seriously, it's the same thing. It'll be like Treyarch.
Eventually, they're going to have to develop a new IP. Why not have your Marlon Brando of developers do that?
Because they're scared of losing the money in the short term.
I
know. I think you're right.
That.
Absolutely.
I mean, they've existed longer than like almost any game company in the fucking world. Like, take a chance. You have the money. You're the only people who have the money to take a chance on something huge.
Well, but you can point to EA and say they did that. Look where they are right now.
I think EA's in a better spot actually than Activision because
I thought they were losing money.
Well, they're losing money, but they're actually developing IPs that could actually be successful in the long term. Where they're taking more chances. Some of them aren't working. I mean. It's been a really painful refiguring for them. But Guitar Hero just dove off a cliff. Tony Hawk dove off a cliff. If Call of Duty dives off a cliff in 2 years and they don't have something to replace it, they're hyper fucked. All they have is WoW,
Transformers, and Spider-Man.
I mean, imagine if they didn't merge with Blizzard and Call of Duty dove off a cliff, the company would cease to exist.
Well, they still have all that Sierra product that they're churning out so frequently and well. Oh, maybe you don't need to buy all these game companies. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think what a lot of these people are missing is that all massive blockbuster franchises were new IPs at one point.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of how long do blockbuster franchises last, especially like what I know it's not anything new. Blockbuster franchises that come out on an annual basis have a life expectancy of 5 years. That's it.
Like Madden?
Other than Madden. Madden's the exception. But I mean, that's a sport that has something that comes out to coincide with it. There's no fucking war to base Call of Duty on that people are rooting for and to stand. Woo!
Right. You have they need to follow, I mean, Nintendo's example of only put one. It's a franchise that'll last forever. They'll never stop Mario or Zelda, but they only put official entries out one every 2-3 years rather than.
It's a beautiful system.
When I get 3 Jack and Daxters in 3 years, I'm like, dude, I don't need another.
I almost want to shake someone by the shoulders. Do you see what? Every 3 or 5 years, Nintendo comes out with a Mario game, and no matter who everybody in the world stops moving. Like, oh, there's a new Mario.
They've
game.
done a lot. I mean, this generation to the point that it's like crazy a lot.
Yeah,
you know
it's
what I mean?
little,
And
it's a little excessive.
It's not so bad in my opinion, but I mean,
I thought of it from the beginning of Sonic because Sonic was turned into an annual franchise and ruined in less than 5 games.
Yeah.
PlayStation is a great example because they'd have a minor success, spin it off every year, try and make it cheaper and cheaper each year.
Twisted Metal.
Nothing that happened on the PlayStation 1 exists anymore, period.
Like games that franchises that arrive.
Klonoa, Jet Moto, Crash Bandicoot, Tomb Raider. Whee, they're all gone.
It depends if you want
Tomb
to count.
Raider's not gone.
If you want to count like Metal Gear Solid or not.
It's just forgotten.
I don't.
But they never did Metal Gear Solid that way. They always took the time. And it's like,
yeah.
I know, I mean, that's what it is. It's like, they have to figure out whether or not to take the time.
I mean, Ratchet and Clank has been almost an annual series. I wouldn't be surprised if it had been annual, and I'm just like not counting all the minor games.
Well, there was the downloadable one in the gap.
Quest for Booty.
I think
there was Size Matters also.
Because the first one was what, 02?
I'm not saying it's not a quality like the games Ratchet and Clank are always like, oh, this is a reasonably good Ratchet and Clank game, but whether I'm desperate to go out and buy it the day it comes out, that's diminishing.
Well, the problem with
annualized
games for me is that if I'm interested in a game and it's a game that I'm interested in but not like dying for, like what'll happen is maybe I don't get around to buying it right away, and then it's February and I'm like, why don't I just wait till November again?
Yeah,
like seriously,
yeah,
it's like that happened with Tony Hawk. I remember I played Tony Hawk 2 a great deal, and then I never really played another one because I kept going like, wait, is the next one going to be the good one? Is the next one?
There was also rumors. Did I say this already that they weren't given any residuals or they didn't?
There's a rumor
share any of the success.
No, there's a rumor. As far as I understand it, that's not accurate. There was a rumor that the royalties weren't getting paid out, but it's my understanding from what was reported on Gamasutra anyway that Activision doesn't pay royalties until the quarter after they were earned. So actually, they weren't due yet. So that might be a red herring.
This is a
but
like
we'll
you said,
find
this is
out.
a relatively new industry, and royalties, residuals. This industry is not big on that.
Well, I mean, the way contracts are structured for independent developers and other developers, it's an advance. It's an advance on royalties. Usually, just like you just don't make enough, it's not enough copies to actually get to the royalty. But no, I mean, people get bonuses and royalties. Yeah.
So are we assuming that the two guys from Infinity Ward, the names?
Jason West and Vincent Campanella?
I'm assuming, where do we think they're going to end up?
I think that's because the first reports we saw is like, holy shit, so I think they called them bodyguards.
Yeah.
Strange security people have showed up in Infinity Ward because they're the only people in the world with the clout to walk back from a bad meeting and say, everybody come with me. Because they fucking could. They could take everybody in that company out with them, and they could start a new company somewhere, and everybody would be fine.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, honestly, we can all theorize about what they might do. It seems very likely that they'll start a new company. But I think that, they weren't. Some people are at companies and they're getting ready to leave, and they have all these plans in their head about what they're going to do. They'll leap right into it. You know what I mean? Like David Jaffe or whatever. Kind of, not that he's really produced anything in a long time, but he leapt in with a plan or whatever. These guys, I think this was a complete shock to them, and they probably are just sitting around going, "What the fuck?" right now, and they probably just like you would if you got fired, and they probably aren't.
I've never been fired. Can't happen to me.
Never.
You just got another job at KFC.
What I would like to say, we can, if you allowed us to say, you said we can speculate.
Am I in charge?
I liked it because someone said like I don't know how well how lock stocky Activision owns Infinity Ward. There were also some things that said they had a out in their contract to pull a Bungie and like maybe we can walk away.
Well, no one's seen the contract. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, but Activision is what Disney was. A terrible company who had no idea what people liked, ran itself into the ground, and then in order to keep Pixar there, they had to give the company to Pixar. That was part of the deal. That's why Pixar runs the company now and why Disney's a little different.
So what you're saying is eventually Infinity Ward will be given Activision.
I would love to see all of that happen.
Blizzard will be given Activision.
Maybe, exactly. Yeah. I'm hoping something like that will happen because if you chased out Infinity Ward,
yeah.
That's insanity of the highest caliber.
Well, Guitar Hero tanked. You have to understand, like, I'm not saying they're justified, but they must have shit their fucking pants when Guitar Hero 5's numbers came back. And DJ Hero,
hope so.
they probably shit their hand. Like, Bobby Kotick's house, like, the kids were on rafts. Like, seriously.
Yeah, between DJ Hero, Guitar Hero 5, and Tony Hawk Ride.
Don't forget Band Hero and Band Hero featuring Taylor Swift and Guitar Hero Van Halen, which sold 65,000 copies.
Dude, wow. I had a running thread in the forums of everyone take pictures of this piles of hero games. It's one of my favorite forum threads in our forums of just like the readers, everyone taking pictures. Just stacked to like, where are they now? Like from previous retail experience, at some point they would just say, look, just pack them up, send them back. Send them back. Like, they would rather send them back and destroy them than liquidate them and have the appearance of conceding defeat and liquidating $10. Just get this fucking thing out of here. They'd rather destroy them.
Well, if they're planning to do another ride, maybe they actually brought them all back and they'll just reuse the same skateboards
they could
for
reuse
the second
same
year.
board.
Yeah, good point. Same terrible.
I thought DJ Hero was fun. I beat the whole thing and went through it, but it's like...
I think DJ Hero the formula to that was develop an ultra cheap game you can keep selling over and over again, and I don't think Tony Hawk has to be an actual game. It's not just a couple of songs that you put in and choreograph.
They need gameplay to hold it all together.
Gameplay. It doesn't work because I thought Activision, their big plan. I'm like, are they trying to be their own console?
Well, think about I was talking about this with my friend. When Guitar Hero 3 came out, I believe this is on the Wikipedia article. But I believe it's basically accurate. At the time it came out, it was like the second best-selling game it was really high stats. I can't remember exactly how it was phrased, but it was like one of the top-selling games ever at the time it came out, Guitar Hero 3, and now it's like borderline worthless.
How did that happen?
It's like, but it just shows they're doing this all wrong, but they must be like fucking flipping out about what their future is because they kind of put all their eggs in that basket. Remember, MTV did the same thing with Rock Band.
Yeah,
they really all thought it was just gonna. I just don't understand why people didn't. So no one remember the word fad. It's an English word. Yeah. We all know it. It happens all the time. Remember, Tony Hawk was. Remember when Tony Hawk was Tony Hawk 1-2 time when there was a million games like Tony Hawk, like other skateboarding games. They all sold okay for a while and they went away, and it's because it was a fad. Tony Hawk was really good, so it was able to maintain momentum for a while. But
I don't think it's fad. James Bond is not a fad. It's updated every couple of years and not every year. It's not. Saturated.
But I think Guitar Hero was in a sense a fad. The only way they didn't have anywhere to go with it, and they certainly. Didn't have a plan for what to do if...
we'll see with my article that comes out on Tuesday. Wait for a GDC announcement. This is a tease. I can't say what it is.
Just reading Twitter. The guy in Deadly Premonition smokes police brand cigarettes.
And uses a lighter with a no smoking sign on it.
What? Okay. Let's get into some good news right now.
What's Mike Grimm's Twitter?
Before we get out of here. Portal 2...
Oh, yeah.
Be it happen, there was a mysterious update to Portal on Steam the other day, which added an achievement entitled Transmission Received. What does this mean? And it turned out they were the radios that were all around the world were added, and you would pick them up and take them certain places, and they would emit a transmission.
In Morse code.
Sometimes in Morse code, sometimes I have a fucking clip of it. It's called, the waveforms are called Dinosaur Fizzle. This is one of them.
Okay.
Some of them.
They're images.
They're images. There's something I had to write it down. It was waves in a file. They were a sound file called SSTV Slow Scan Television, which is like an ancient ham radio technique of transcoding audio into picture messages.
Wow.
And somebody managed to figure out that this is what you're supposed to do and put it through that filter and came up with all those screenshots with Aperture logos. I
looked at them all.
It's like a cow's intestine, a skull, a receipt, a piece of a robot arm. And then they transcribe them further, and on those images, there's in other places, there's Morse code. Like you just said, and I love the Morse code. People transcribe that, and it says stuff like this: message digest active. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. System data dump active. User backup active. Password backup active. Beep, 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 beep. Lol. Which is, it's GLaDOS booting up again. Is what it sounds like, and then they decoded some more of the code from the pictures and found a fucking like a BBS data line,
a phone number. They found the phone number for like a BBS, like an old school modem BBS
in Washington,
and then you call it, and it delivers ASCII art to you, and it's like screenshots in like ASCII of like robots holding hands. And
wow!
If you look really closely, if it's not Shell, it's a female form with a pretty. You can kind of make out the portal gun. You can kind of make out the portal gun just barely.
And it says GLaDOS version 3.11, so everything's going to be announced on the 11th, March 11th.
I think it's GDC. I don't know. Everybody's like, wait till E3. I'm like, GDC is next week. I'm pretty sure this is what it has to do with.
Well, that's a sufficiently already.
They're also teasing Mac Steam at the same time. So
and who's the bigger hero to fucking GDC than Valve?
Yeah,
they own that joint.
That's true.
And just today, we're recording this on a Wednesday, they updated Portal yet again. And the ending has been updated. Does everybody remember how Portal ended?
Yes.
Fall outside, the building blows up, Aperture
sign or something.
So now, right when that happens...
So my Orange Box game, if I play it now, the ending will change?
I don't know about consoles.
I think it's just PC.
PC, okay.
I don't know about consoles, but this is what you will hear.
Thank you for assuming the party escort submission position.
Right after the scene faded to white, after you falling what looks like outside the security gate of the Aperture Science building, you hear a male GLaDOS-esque voice behind you, and your body gets dragged away, and you black out. I couldn't tell if I hated or loved that it's they didn't rewrite history. They just updated 15 seconds after the very end of the game.
What does it say?
Let's hear it again.
Thank you for assuming the party escort submission position.
Thank you for assuming the party escort submission. Dude, the Valve thread on this is so long. It's at like 500 pages right now. Either way, it's Portal 2, and someone was like, man, this is making our job so terrible because this is way better than a press release could ever be. I'm fascinated by this, and I'm in these forums.
What I like about it is it's got all the ARG stuff going on, but we're going to find out the answer really soon. People are doing the Tron ARG right now for a movie that comes out in November. I'm like, just fucking stop.
You mad?
2 weeks. 2 weeks is plenty of ARG, I think.
Just the words Tron ARG. Meh. Sorry.
All right, well, that is it for me. Let's go to break, come back, and we'll wrap this bitch up with some community nonsense, and we'll tell you how to win some really kick-ass shirts from darkbunnytees.com. So it was.
This the third installment, Infinity Ward shit. Don't soil your drawers, cause it's deep in his hard, bitch.
Marines. All in Marines. Stay frosty.
This is Kevin Murphy from Riftrex, and you're listening to TalkRadar.
What is it now? I was resting.
Attack now!
You're getting pushy.
I own you. Attack!
Own me? I ain't no slave woman.
Are you gonna help me or not?
Oh, I'll help, girlie.
Ah!
The time of the summoned creatures has begun!
An evil empire is sucking the life force from the planet, destroying all that's in its path. It's up to one soldier of fortune to save the world. If he succeeds, you survive. If he fails, you can always hit the reset button. Final Fantasy VII.
PlayStation.
Hey, does anybody want to listen to the rest of this motherfucking podcast?
Yeah!
Segment 3, TalkRadar 91. Silver Sun pick up a song that's either Sort Of or Panic Switch because we don't want to play Disturbed or Christian's favorite band, Trust Company. It's all about hating your father when you're 13. It's really good. It's really good. Who wants to go into the game deals?
Game deals?
Game deals. It has its own theme song.
Take my advice, do as I say. Save a little money for a rainy day.
You buy cheap games, get it?
I bought a cheap game today, thanks to you.
What's that? Oh!
BioShoezy.
Wasn't it an insane price?
Yeah.
What is it? Play Asia, I thought they existed on charging a premium on importing stuff. But a legit American copy of Bioshock 2 for $33.33.
Wow, that's close to what I paid for a copy of Heavenly Sword off of Amazon right now.
Right now?
One of their sellers is offering it for $33. I bought it earlier today because, wow, finally a reasonable price for a 2-year-old game.
I got it over Christmas for a really cheap price. And I love Heavenly Sword.
Yes.
I hate that won't be
Great
revisited
game.
in any way.
No.
Because there was so much potential. There was so much. I've never loved cutscenes so much.
And the cutscenes were the best part.
I don't
of
know
the
if
game.
that was all Andy Serkis.
Yes, it was all Andy Serkis.
Gohan. It was the
Bohan.
One of my greatest. Gohan.
I would love to see Andy Serkis in that role.
Oh, it would have made for a much better Evolution movie.
Throw fireballs, yell every line more than he does already.
We also have. You want some good karma? Some good karma for 800 Microsoft points. Forza 3 VIP car pack, which normally I would be too disinterested in to recommend. But it'll increase your visibility in the leaderboards and the auction house, and it'll add the Ferrari
car
spaghetti and the Corvette banana. New cars is what we're talking about. But for every packet of DLC that gets bought, Turn 10 will donate $10 to a Haiti charity.
Oh, cool.
Which is pretty nice. Super Puzzle Fighter Turbo HD Remix, $4.99 on PSN, half price.
Wow.
Can we all get behind Super Puzzle Fighter?
No.
No?
Eh.
You don't like it?
I thought it was in the middle of the...
I liked it 15 years ago.
I thought it was in the middle of the pack of quality of PlayStation 1/Saturn puzzle games.
It's $5.
It's worth $5.
Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo?
Yeah.
It's great.
It's great.
I mean, it's not...
It's a $5 value, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I might pick it up.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's a $5 game.
It's really good. Newegg has Need for Speed Shift for $36 on PS3. GameStop is allegedly offering Brutal Legend for $20. Good deal. And I really wanted to, but the cheapest I could find better. But the cheapest I could find Final Fantasy 13 was on Amazon, only because they're offering a $10 gift card.
Oh, I can say Toys R Us next week. When you buy Final Fantasy 13, you get a $13 gift card.
I saw that, but I thought it said... I looked into it, and it may be $13 off the fucking guide.
No, I believe it's a gift card.
You get the hardcover guide for $13. That's what I thought. I went.
That's not what.
I clicked around.
Maybe it's different in real life and online.
Could be.
Nobody needs a $13 guide unless it has a future logo on it, and then
then buy two.
Yes, we're probably involved. That is good game deals. Oh wait, that is not game deals. I forgot. I whipped out my Flarp for a reason. Christian, this is Flarp noise putty. We were using it in the Ustream.
Yeah, it's a fart. It's a fart putty.
It's beautiful. You can make it's. Well, I had a fart button, but this is analog, so I can just make new farts, slow farts.
So what's the point?
There's kind of a point here.
The point here is that we're in game deals, and this is the future. This is the future you always wanted. Warning: this super cheap game deal may cause diarrhea. Taco Bell is giving out classic Atari games like
I can't believe it works every time.
Like Centipede, Lunar Landing.
Oh my god!
Super Breakout and ass. Turroids.
Roids, yeah, as it's known.
Roid.
By fans. Fan community calls it roids. Strangely enough.
I'm going down to the pizza joint to play some roids.
In every kid's meal, so you can fill your kids' bellies full of grade F meat.
Wait, so here's the thing I don't understand. Let's actually clarify this.
What's up,
right?
sweetie?
In what form or format are these games being given?
PC and Mac.
It's like a disc in the kids' meal. That's fun. The kid's
What if
like,
they eat the
"What's
disc?
the toy?"
It could be.
No, it's like the kid wants to play with like an action figure. It's like, no, it's asteroids on a CD-ROM.
You can take it home and install it on your computer and play it.
sour cream on my game.
No, Mom, give me your iPhone. I want to play Diner Dash. That's what's
Why did you take me to Taco Bell?
Oh, man.
I'm sorry, poor kid at Taco Bell. You don't have a PC.
Squeaking out through his fucking beach trunks.
Where did you buy such a thing?
Flarp? Well, I think it should be obvious. Big Lots. I got it. Big Lots. Flarp Noise Putty. Do not eat. On sale at Big Lots for $1.99. It's basically Nickelodeon GAC in a film canister.
I can't believe. Because I tried it, and I couldn't get a fart every time
It's
like that.
super effective.
It is incredibly super effective.
I'm telling you, do the
Chris
two-finger
is an
one.
expert at
The what?
The two-finger one.
All right, we should probably end game deals.
Take my advice, do as I say. Save a little money for a rainy day.
God,
It almost worked.
It's too gross. Stop.
I wish it,
that was too gross.
I think you missed a golden opportunity by not calling it ass turd-roids.
Ass turd-roids. Ass turd-roids.
Nice.
You picked up the pieces.
The classy just never stops.
It is. This is your one-stop stop, or one-shop stop.
Shit stop.
One shit stop for hard-hitting game news.
10.
Analog. Nobody else. You can have a fart button. I know Kotaku's playing noise now. You don't have to yell at me. It's not exclusive to us. Anybody can play music on a podcast. Just
Right.
because no one's bothered to for a decade.
Right.
Doesn't mean they can't.
Because
But
everyone likes talking into a vacuum. But
nobody has an analog fart noise.
You're right.
The innovations just keep coming from
TalkRadar
Games
exclusive.
Radar.
Just wait, I'm sure Jim Sterling will find a way to introduce one.
Top fucking farts I'd like to fuck until they fart. I'm making fun of him, making fun of us.
So really...
Take that, Sterling. It hurts me.
So really... fucking enlarged house... moving into the community segment.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice segue. Community, gamesradar.com/forums, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Christian's like pointed at me to stop. Throwing it in the plant so I can't use it anymore.
Enlarged House Cats in the forums finally put my...
Is that a username, Enlarged House Cats? I like that.
Enlarged House Cats. We have a lot of good forum names.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't gonna front. He put finally my Twitter avatar and Jim Sterling's Twitter avatar, which were both Left 4 Dead hunters. Mine's been there since October, so whatever.
But it's just like the same pose.
It's like the same pose, but like we're both making the same face, but like we're facing opposite directions. So I'm like, can somebody please Photoshop us into a Mortal Kombat 3 style versus match? And Enlarged House Cats did it, and it was excellent.
Did we post it last week? Or do you want to do it this week?
We'll post it on the page this week because it happened as of Monday. But it's fucking great.
TalkRadar 91. Look for that page, and please comment on it. It really helps us when you guys comment. You did it on the Aliens one, like
89 and 90 had a lot of
It's
comments. So
incredible.
if you're listening, just throw up a comment. And just say
what you liked, what you didn't. It really helps us.
Yeah.
We definitely read those. I can read them all throughout the week.
if there's a whole segment, like obviously this week. Sorry if you didn't like Final Fantasy. I apologize.
Yes, there's not a guarantee that we'll talk about Final Fantasy for an hour every week.
Yeah. In fact, we may never talk about it again until 16 comes out. We'll just skip 15 altogether.
15? We're up to 14.
Fuck it. I mean,
That's
hello,
over.
Sony. I really enjoy your money. Big news though for the Talk Radars.
Ooh.
It's been asked, and looking into it, I was able to figure this out. If you want to call KOXM, our sister podcast, our neighbor cul-de-sac podcast, had a 1-800 number you could call. So if you dial 1-877
In America.
Yeah, or the U.S. country code, whatever it is.
Yeah, actually, you could call +1.
Yeah, anywhere.
Go for it.
1-877-404-1337. So that's 404 LEET. and then we are extension 327, which is DAR. on your phone, you can actually call and leave a message, and leave about a 30 to 60 second message, and we will get a WAV file, and we can actually
see how it works. Leave a nice message. We'll put something together next week.
Yeah, we'll leave a message. You can ask questions, and actually, that's a much better way for us to do like ask a games journalist or ask us questions or whatever than going weeding through a 20-page forum thread.
Yeah.
So just call this number 1-877-404-1337.
No, if we. Oh, sorry.
Extension 327 DAR.
DAR
for the DAR.
DAR. Elite DAR.
And then just leave a message.
404 Elite DAR.
And we'll get the waves. But make sure you say
your name immediately, and then try and get your point across as quick as possible.
Yeah, if you
We're not going to play a long rant.
No. Just listen to some like archives of Art Bell and use that as a leaping off point of your style.
Art Bell? Who's Art Bell?
What? Are you serious? He's the UFO guy?
All right, I got it. It just took me a second.
He has a cameo in Prey, like on the radio.
Still not with you.
I got.
It's a call-in radio show where he's crazy and all the people who call in are crazy.
Oh, okay.
I got wiki.
I got you. I just want the reverberating bass strings going back and forth.
There it is.
But again, call that number, leave us a message, and we'll play them.
I'd really like to cut something together next week, so please do so.
Yeah. And moving on, last week's question of the week.
What console do you like the least of this generation?
Yeah. We just cut straight to the chase, and it was what's your least favorite machine of the current
generation? It didn't devolve into a bunch of fanboy nonsense, a bunch of people arguing the merits of this and that. I was a little surprised because.
Which, real quick, Christian, if you had to pick one, because we all said ours last week.
Ooh, it's tough, actually. The thing is, my first instinct is to say the Wii.
Right.
Because I'm one of the legion of people who's irritated by it not being HD and stuff.
Right.
So the actual console itself, from like that perspective, I'm not that crazy into it. And motion didn't do a great deal for me, but obviously it has like Super Mario Galaxy, Galaxy 2, other really good stuff that makes me really like. It's essential.
What happened in the 3 years in between?
Why, Twilight Princess was a fine game.
There's some good stuff for the Wii. So
Muramasa was really good.
I feel like with the PS3 and 360, you kind of only need to have one of them, and that's kind of like. But I like the PS3 because it plays Blu-rays, but I like the 360 because often it's got the better version of the game. I'm being real wishy-washy.
It's not
say PSP. That's what I did.
If the Wii were,
were you allowed to pick handheld?
Yeah.
If the Wii were completely HD.
It would still be as useless, actually. I think, except would it have
maybe, but it would still be like a different. It wouldn't be like owning like the same as PS3 and 360.
I see what you're saying.
We would be completely different. That'd kind of be awesome if there were 3 consoles offering completely different experiences and catering to different audiences.
Yeah.
But this did surprise me. Oh, I can do this with the top 7 buttons. I counted them down, and according to your votes, these are your least favorite consoles.
Oh, nice. That's a good way to do it.
Number 7. iPhone. Sure, why not let it be eligible? Very few people said that.
Number 6.
PC.
Huh.
Number 5.
DS. And I say DS, all but one person said DSi. They all stated DSi specifically, which leads to a sticky situation. This is not...
DSi is kind of lame.
It's a dumb half step. Like, it's the Game Boy Color of the...
DSi, where most of that stuff is utter garbage.
It's like
some of it's cool, but like the thing is, you don't even know because it seems like no one's paying attention. I hear Dark Void Zero was cool, but...
It was cool.
I hear Mario Calculator is not.
This idea of launching DSiWare on a middle console, it's like you should have just saved that for the next thing you put out, rather than what if I have a DS Lite, which is what most people have. Oh, I can't download that. Thanks.
Okay, so now we leave. I want to say the obvious choices. Does anybody want to say how they think this will go out? 1 through 4. What's the number 4 console?
PSP.
PSP. Brett's saying PSP.
It's not a console, but I mean, fair enough.
But no, isn't the number 1
platform?
No, the number 1 will be the one that is the least liked overall. So,
what do you think of number 1?
Number 1, I'd put Wii.
Wii or PS3.
Wii or PS3, Michael?
Is it least liked console?
Least liked console. Least favorite console.
Well, for me, it's probably PSP, but I think that's just kind of there are people who love it, and
PSP. The reason I feel like people are not going to care enough about the PSP to write in and say they don't like it.
We're asking for your opinion on what you think is number 1 on this list.
Yeah, Wii.
What do you think number 2? What would be second best So everybody seems to say Wii.
Then PS3.
PS3? 3? Below that?
PSP, then 360. That's
I'm
guess.
actually going to guess 360 just because the PS3 fans who hate the 360 are more vocal than the 360 fans who hate the PS3, at least on our site.
I don't want to spoil anything that's coming up in the next 45 seconds, but Michael might be onto something.
Let's do this.
Let's do this. Number 4.
Number 4.
You wouldn't believe it if I said it. Number 4 is the PS3.
Oh.
Number 4 is the PS3. Not a lot of people said that. Number 3.
Number 3.
The 360, which in the beginning was number 1 for the longest time.
Right.
Your least favorite console is the 360. It was the first. It has the most.
Right.
And it's kind of the most.
PS2 of this generation.
I feel like this generation. I don't have a favorite. Last time I had a favorite console was the Dreamcast. You know what I mean? The last time like a console meant something to me, I was like, I love that console. It was the Dreamcast.
I like the infrastructure of the 360 personally.
I think the 360 is a fine
to see
machine.
what all of us are doing.
I don't have that emotional attachment.
Oh, I don't either, because especially once you know that this 360 you bought won't be usable in a year.
Yeah.
Like you're just gonna have to trade it in for another one, or hopefully Microsoft will have.
I tend to lose an emotional attachment to it when my dashboard is loaded. When A, it has a HUD, and B, it's loaded with ads.
Yeah.
I remember when you could start a game without looking at ads first?
Craziness. I cannot believe they never took that avenue. There'll be people who say that about the podcast soon enough. Remember when they didn't have ads like every 5 minutes? No.
Number 2.
You ready? Somebody say it.
Wii?
PSP.
It is PSP, Christian.
Wow.
It is PSP.
I forgot what we had already said.
And again, most people said. I don't think people cared enough about the PSP to say it's my least favorite.
Yeah.
PSP Go.
Oh.
Seemed to really drive
the
people.
PSP Go was a real clusterfuck of just irrelevance. I thought it was a cool idea, but it just wasn't handled very well on a lot of levels.
Both Flaming Cookie and Boner Punch said PSP.
Mm-hmm.
I think
you were on the last
with the
page.
PSP and the DS, I don't feel like there are enough of I'm not enough of a handheld gamer. I mean, when they both have a couple cool games, that's sort of enough to justify their existence for me, or something.
Yeah,
kind of like that. So number 1 then, we figured it out.
Is there any doubt?
Should be Wii, right?
I don't know. I have to see if I can find the old sound effect. Wait, this isn't right. No. No, yeah, it is. It is. Yeah,
Number 1
is Wii. No, thank you, Antonio Banderas. Number 1 is Wii. A lot of people even saying this is the only console I own of this generation. I still get more of a kick out of my DS.
Wow.
Than my PSP.
Wow.
Than the Wii.
I can definitely agree that I played my DS a hell of a lot more than my Wii.
Mm-hmm. And
but my PSP I seem to turn on once a calendar year.
Oh, except Johnny Maverick said me. I am his least favorite console.
Wait, you, Chris Antista?
Yeah, because I said PC, and he took issue with that. I was just angry at PCs. Like a couple of people were very mad at me and that I used Assassin's Creed for that. Like, if you don't, I thought the Assassin's Creed DRM was ridiculous.
Yeah,
and I said, well, I said if you're gonna do that with your DRM and you've seen people complain and you don't care and you're not gonna fix it, don't release it on PC next time.
Right.
Just don't. You're building a bunch of bad cred in your area. Clearly, you want to be on a console anyway. Just put it out on consoles. No big deal, right? No one's gonna buy your next game if they think this is part of it. New users this week: Cam Daddy, Ratatouille, Games Radar Junior Wildlife Editor, The Dozens, The Kun. That's what she said. Miggles, Jagged Blurry Octopus, Evan K. Hustle, the Elephant Manchurian Candidate, Lancer King 7, Flaming Cookie, and Boner Punch. Everybody gets a big old...
big old Packard Bell.
It's a big old Packard Bell, ta-da, Windows style.
Which brings us to question of the week this week.
Oh, yes.
Question 75 in the forums, gamesradar.com/forums.
Tell it, Elston.
We're all on the TalkRadar podcast area of the forums.
Oh, wait, before the contest. The contest is dirt simple. Go to the TalkRadar page. Brett and I took a couple shots in these T-shirts.
I haven't seen the pictures
I haven't seen it either, but we had the idea at the last second to do a Wii lifestyle shot of Elston and I throwing the Wii remote in any given direction and looking like we're wowed by anything that's happening.
Right.
And we have one of those. Go look for that. Cool T-shirts from Dark Bunny Tees. They don't make them very much. They're $40 American, and that includes shipping from the UK. You will get them for free. We have 8 to give away. They're really cool. You get to pick which ones you want as well, because we had to wait until they started printing new ones, because they're kind of rare.
So how do I win?
How do you win, Elson? Well, they are vaguely movie references.
Right.
Insert GamesRadar, TalkRadar. Somehow make a movie poster out of involving GamesRadar or TalkRadar. Either make one from scratch or insert us into a classic movie poster. Not a huge deal. Photoshop, Paint.net, GIMP. Paintbrush users will be automatically disqualified.
Seems like an awful sophisticated contest.
I like it.
They're really cool shirts, and like there you go out of print.
Right. All right. Fair enough.
Just make a movie poster. Really, like Photoshop fucking your head over Jack Nicholson in The Shining. Boom. Entry. 8 winners. If it's that hard, everybody wins.
The first 8 people in the thread will win. That's not what will happen.
Contests. GamesRadar forums. This is the new question of the week.
Question of the
75?
week. 75. Question 75. Not so big hung up on the number, but with Final Fantasy being kind of a running theme this week, we often point out, like, oh, Final Fantasy something is always somebody's first RPG.
Mm-hmm.
It's your gateway to check out other RPGs. Maybe it was 1, maybe it was 4, maybe it was 7. So this question is... I don't know the best way to phrase it, but it's kind of like, what was your first gateway game?
Mm-hmm.
What was their first game that it was a genre you'd previously kind of ignored, and then you're like, wow, this is kind of something I enjoy, and then that led you to go check out other genres.
Even if the
games in the same genre.
Even if the curiosity went nowhere, what was the game that
even if
good?
you ultimately decided,
nah, I'm okay, I don't need to.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I like that.
I don't have an answer right off the top of my head. So.
What was really odd, and I wish Henry was here to talk about it, is do we need to say that Henry's a nerd?
I think it goes without saying.
Okay, he's really into comics. He played one of his friends, who's also very into sports. Just kind of showed him the ropes in Madden, and he became fascinated. And he wrote an article about it, I believe, like sports games for nerds.
Oh yeah.
And like how to find a sports game appealing as someone who's grew up only liking comics and anime and games. Like Henry somehow like he was telling me like, dude, this Madden thing is crazy. Like I never knew it was this deep. But it obviously didn't lead to that many other sports games.
But now he has an appreciation for, again, the most, quote, nerds wouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
Like, most typical Madden consumer to even us is like, someone who doesn't play any other games but Madden.
Just as a gamer, like, you don't want to be a Madden gamer when you're as deep as Henry.
Right. That does kind of instill in me a memory that I don't think I knew the rules to football until Mutant League Football for Genesis. And then that was maybe the first game that made me go, so that's how this game is played. And then that kind of, I guess, it was a gateway to try other sports games. Like, I ended up with friends, like we'd play Mutant League Football 2-player, and then that would lead us, hey, let's go play NHLPA hockey, and then let's go play this and whatever. And eventually that friend moved away who I played all these sports games with. But then for a while, for several years, we were really into sports games, and granted that went away, but like Mutant League Football, I guess, in the context of this question,
a bunch of
really made it didn't just make me think this, hey, a fun game, and I'll check out some other sports games. It actually made me real world appreciate this game of football. Like I had no fucking clue how the game was played. I knew baseball, you hit a ball and you ran.
Base Wars and RBI, baseball helped us.
Yeah,
I think we weren't very clear on the rules of baseball at that point, but we kind of understood why our dads were acting like idiots while watching, because some guys run. Like, well, why doesn't he just run all the time? What the fuck is he doing? Run around the guy with the ball. What are you, stupid? Yeah.
Michael Christian?
And in Final Fantasy X, like I played Zelda was really like I played Zelda, ignored it, thought it was boring because I wanted just kind of instant gratification.
Right.
And Zelda 1 in the SNES generation, I finally went back and played. I'm like, okay, I get it now, and I went and played all of them in a period of a month. And then I started playing RPGs. Like, it took me a long time for how long I've been gaming to play an RPG.
I think maybe 4 was the first real one for me. Final Fantasy 4?
First one was Phantasy Star 1.
Outside of Zelda, I guess.
And then, like I just said, 10 was a gateway drug for Final Fantasy games.
So, it's weird. I think I think the first time I was convinced that I could really like an FPS as much as like another genre was Half-Life 2. Like,
that's a good one.
I played through most of Halo 2, and I was like, meh. And like I'd never really played because I wasn't, I wasn't a big PC gamer, never have been. So until the genre sort of really took off, in, like the Xbox One generation, I played here and there. I'd played different stuff, but Half-Life 2 was the first time I was like, I could like this as much as I like anything else. Crazy.
It makes complete and total sense.
I was gonna say E.T. was my gateway to shitty movie games, but actually, since you brought up Zelda, Chris, Ocarina of Time was my first real experience with what fishing games were like.
Really?
And I like bought a couple fishing games after that, and played them not very much, but enjoyed what I did play. And
did you buy the Dreamcast reel?
I did.
Yeah, I knew it.
I don't think I bought it new.
Right.
That could be a lie, as I think I have the box.
Isn't
somewhere.
the prevailing opinion that Sega Bass Fishing is like the best fishing game ever?
I played a little bit.
It's pretty fucking fun.
I played like Dreamcast. I played everything that came on the Pike. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because like in my mind, I remember playing a lot of Super Black Bass for Super Nintendo.
Black Bass.
Not Black Bass.
That just seemed like the stupidest thing. Like next to golf games. Like wow, really?
Especially
Speaking of golf games, the NES Open was pretty awesome.
Especially as someone who has ponds in their backyard with fish in them, it's like, why don't I just... One of those rare instances where it's like, why don't you really just go catch a fish?
Go out and torture those fish with hooks?
I guess I could.
Yeah.
Fish Hero.
Fish Hero. So yeah, if everybody's satisfied with their answers here?
I am.
Sure.
All right, that's going to the forums then. GamesRadar.com/forums. Let us know, what was your gateway game? Well, that's what the thread will be called, but I mean, basically what's, genre you weren't interested in until this game came along.
Yeah.
Oh, I said Crackdown also is a good one for me.
For what kind
Open world game.
Oh, like a GTA style.
Really? It was that late in the game?
I don't like
So
GTA. I don't like GTA.
Really?
Yeah.
But has there been an open world game you've enjoyed since Crackdown?
No.
No.
I haven't tried Assassin's Creed 2 actually when I give that a shot.
Oh,
it wasn't so much in the first one.
What's weird is I love Crackdown, but for some reason I'm not all that psyched about 2. I feel
it looks good though.
I feel like, me and Charlie stayed up all night till 7 a.m.
I just want to hear that announcer again.
Yeah, he's also. And I'll still play it.
Surrounded by a sea of
Is it
Mexican.
2? Is it 2 or 4 co-op?
I'm gonna know.
Damn it!
It was 2 before.
It was 2 before. Well, I know it was 2
Two's
before.
enough.
I can't imagine that it wouldn't be a little more.
I would hope it's 4 because I got people I want to play with.
Because I think at that point I wasn't sure that the Xbox was capable of a certain kind of co-op until Crackdown came along and threw 2 people, random people, in that giant
so
world.
Much fun.
It's ridiculously good fun.
And I can't express in terms of getting achievements. Like you can cheat the achievement system with 2 people in Crackdown, and it's so much fucking fun. Flip a car 45 times. Well, you could drive off a ramp, or you could have a friend bring you up to the top of a building
and throw you,
and you will spin a billion fucking times, and you have to find a specific ramp. There's tons of stuff like that.
That was so much fun. Upgrading those cars and then just driving them off the biggest shit, and so much fun. But go into the thread. GamesRadar.com/forums, TalkRadar podcast, question 75. Let us know, and we'll read your answers next week. And also, don't forget with the aforementioned 1-877-404-1337.
Give us a call.
Extension 327, the DAR. Just DAR.
Hey, give us a call. Smash it or trash it. We'll.
And maybe one of these days we'll actually record a greeting with, "Hey, you're on the TalkRadar."
Biggity bam.
Wha-bam.
Don't come.
All right.
There we go.
That's
all
it.
right, let's get out of here. Anything you want to tease? Christian, you're at Kama Sutra all the time.
I am.
24/7.
I am at Kama Sutra all the time. It's an interesting place to read really in-depth interviews with game developers and articles to tell you how to make games. If you're interested in learning how to make games, I have a sister site called GameCareerGuide.com, which is probably more interesting for your audience in certain ways. It's aimed at students. So if any of you guys out there and gals are trying to
I get messages like that every day.
Learn to make games, check out
435, pay attention.
GameCareerGuide.com?
That's right.
Great.
Take it. Well, GDC is all next week.
GDC, Hate Changes, Veronica.
GDC will be going all next week. There'll be crazy mad coverage on
TalkRadar is going to exist in some form next week, and we are having...
Sony has an announcement.
Sony has an announcement? I hope it's about Ark.
It's about a sequel to something we are not supposed to expect.
I'm assuming it's about Ark, actually, but they haven't said.
I hope it's Twisted Metal. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
Twisted Metal. Twisted Metal.
I'm thinking it's
Hey,
Ark.
did you hear that just now Infinity Ward's Jason West and Vince Zampella have filed a lawsuit against Activision?
Oh, no. That'll be old news by the time you
I
hear
know,
this.
it says details incoming, so that will be old by the time you hear it. But whoa, honest reaction.
You got to hear us all react. Man.
And next week, Michael Raparez will be reviewing
God of War 3.
God of War 3. I just started playing the collection. I'm having so much fucking fun, despite how dated a game is.
I just saw the ending, and not to spoil too much, but things happen.
Really?
Ooh. Yes.
Does this look like the end for our time with Kratos?
I think it is.
Really?
Yes.
Just like when Solid Snake was never going to be in another game.
Prequel! There's still more room in the universe. And I don't know why, but God of War is one of those games that, why haven't all of you ripped this off?
Yeah.
Why haven't all of you done this? Nobody has.
Just ask.
Just playing the one.
Just ask Visceral.
Just Dante's Inferno one.
Oh, my bad. I have not played Dante's Inferno.
Well, Dante's Inferno is like God of War, but not as good.
Yeah.
All right.
Still okay.
Taking us out.
Before I stick my foot in my mouth any further, what's taking us out, Elson?
Taking us out is Christian and I have agreed earlier in the podcast that the intro song to the Sega CD Lunar, it's the cheesiest.
Hey! Whoa, 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 whoa! Hey! Hey! Wow!
It's good enough for me.
We played it in TalkRadar 20. It was from the cheesiest game songs, but we didn't play the full thing. Like, I really just soak it up, and like, this is what you missed in the early 90s, and it's probably a good thing. But
it was awesome, though.
It was so awesomely stupid because it was just, this game has music in it with words.
Yeah. We were getting impressed by these things.
Yeah. But
it was good.
It's intentionally, well, I love it.
Listen to these cavemen talk.
Just enjoy.
Just enjoy the sound.
The only music they'd heard at that point was playing the rib cage of a dinosaur like a xylophone.
And Cotton Eye Joe, apparently.
All right. Take us out, Reverend Byrne.
Give me Twinkies or give me death, motherfucker!
I get it, he's fat.